Class is in session. College football hitting the book show. It is Monday, November the 3rd. It's Ian Cameron and Connor Mack with you and ready to break down this another week in college football and excited about it. We've got week 11 now in college football. It's hard to believe how quickly it goes by. We'll get to that in a minute. Just a couple show notes for you. Obviously, this is the opening day of the college basketball season. Trust me, we are aware. And even though we won't be talking about college basketball today on the show, we will be having our first college basketball hitting the book show of the season tomorrow on Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. It'll be a shorter card, which is nice. You know, we can talk a little bit more in depth about some.
I need that.
Able to do,
out of the gate. I like that.
Today. Yeah, exactly. So our premier edition of college basketball hitting the books will be tomorrow. Obviously, when football ends, we're going to extend that show to more days per week. But for now,
we'll be on Monday probably, or rip it around.
No doubt. But for now, we'll always pick a Tuesday or a Thursday for the first few weeks of the season to do the college basketball show. That'll be a free show. Everybody's going to have access to it and be able to watch it. And then we will maintain for our Hitting the Books channel members and subscribers, we will maintain our Wednesday and Friday members-only shows, Wednesdays 2 p.m. Pacific, Fridays at 2 p.m. Pacific. So those will continue as well. But CMAC, It's another week of college football. I believe we're getting into I think the rankings are happening for the first time. We're going to do the college football playoff rankings and do that for the first time this season coming up this week. So be interested to see how that shakes out. But college football, we're into the final month of the regular season already. Hard to believe. And Maction is here for the first time this season. Weeknight Maction in college football.
I'm pumped for it. I mean, I was getting a little dragged on with fucking Sam Houston and La Tech. Nothing against that.
Conference USA, but bad Conference USA football. Yeah.
You know, it was wearing on me a little bit. I love the switch up here. A little November, turn the calendar, cool it down. Let's get a little Maction midweek, which I always love this conference. So I love it.
All right, we begin with an absolute beauty to begin the slate here on Tuesday night. We've got Miami, Ohio, and Ohio. These are two of your contenders to win the MAC right now. Ohio, 3.5-point home favorites, 49.5 the total here in this game. This is a great matchup. Obviously, Miami goes into this game 4-0 in conference play, 5-3 overall record. Ohio 3-1 in conference play, 5-3 overall record. Both of these teams have aspirations of winning the conference. You know, you got to give this Miami team a lot of credit. 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. They're 4-0 straight up in ATS in MAC conference play so far. They've won and covered every conference game to this point. But you do look at the schedule: Northern Illinois, Akron, Eastern Michigan, not always the best of opposition. I think their toughest game was their last win against Western Michigan, where Miami got a 26-17 win in that game. We'll see if they can carry it over here to this matchup against Ohio. These are the teams that met up last year in the MAC championship game, and Ohio put an absolute thumping on Miami, Ohio in that game, 38-3. They outgained the Bobcats. They outgained the Red Hawks 467-189. 467-189 in that game. It really was an ass kicking. Parker Navarro, of course, for Ohio, quarterback that I like quite a bit. Bangura, excellent running back. They have Rodney Harris, Chase Hendricks, really good receivers on this Ohio team as well. This is a tough one. I mean, look, Miami 5-0 straight up, 5-0 against the spread. Chuck Martin, historically very good as an underdog. Miami obviously in revenge for the MAC championship loss last year against Ohio. At the end of the day, though, I don't love this schedule lately for Miami. I really truly believe they've feasted on the weak. I'm not the biggest fan of Daquan Finn, the Miami quarterback, who's been around the block. He was in the MAC with Toledo, then he went outside the conference. Now he's back here with he's just a limited passer. He's got athleticism, but I don't think he's the most accurate, polished pocket passer. I know he's not the most accurate, polished pocket passer. So I think Ohio can get them here. And I think it's very telling, CMAC, that this number has Ohio laying more than a field goal in this game, considering the red-hot surge and being undefeated both straight up and against the spread in conference play for Miami O. So I think Ohio wins the game. I'm not totally comfortable laying 3.5, but that's where I stand here on early in the week. CMAC, this is of all the action games, like this is the heavyweight.
This is it.
The main event.
This is it.
These
This is
two teams that could win this conference. Hell, they could meet up possibly.
Yes.
In the championship game once again. What do you think here, Miami O, Ohio?
Both these teams off buys too, so they're fresh here. You already hit on, I think, a little bit of the beatdown of that game where Ohio looked so good, 38-3 win. I don't trust both these quarterbacks, really. Let's get to that. You touched on Finn. I don't trust Navarro. He in that last game before against Eastern Michigan, he had a couple picks. I still think he's turnover prone. When he's pretty clean, I love this team. So I think when they're getting disrespected and getting, they're a dog. I know they're at home and I can't take them laying these points. And you know why? You hit it big though. You hit it big was who Miami Ohio's playing. Because I think these defenses are similar. The numbers say Miami Ohio is better, but
both teams are better running than throwing. I will say Miami O's run defense numbers are better than Ohio's, but it's came against a weaker strength of schedule. You could counter by saying that as well.
I think both teams will be able to run the ball. That's why I like Miami Ohio here with 3 in the hook. That's my lean when I was going through this last night. I think these defenses are tight, and maybe Miami Ohio is a little bit better. And I think they'll be able to run the football on Ohio. Middle of the pack, they're giving up, 154 a game. That's 85th. Miami, Ohio, of course, they get 166. And we talked about the quarterbacks could be really, really big in this game. So in a tight one, it's Miami, Ohio, or nothing. I could not take Ohio in the spot. A team that I really, really like.
Here's the thing, too. Like Chuck Martin's been a point spread machine, Miami O in conference play. We've talked about this earlier in the year. You stay far away from Miami O in non-conference. He doesn't give two shits about non-conference, Chuck Martin. It's almost like he uses that period of the season in early mid-September to get his team ready for MAC play. And then when they get into MAC play, look out. And as much as I think Ohio, I like the quarterback edge. I like them being at home. I don't love the strength of schedule for Miami O. I just can't lay more than a field goal with them. I wanted to back them. I didn't like the number enough to do that.
Yeah, 3 in the hook. I don't blame you.
No. Great
Lower
game.
Than that.
Absolutely a terrific game. This is the one where, if all the action games Tuesday, Wednesday night, this is the one where you got to say, I got to make sure I watch this, or at least keep an eye on it, because it's got the potential to be pretty good. All right, next up, we've got UMASS, and I lean over a little bit in that game, and the weather's going to be fine. The weather's going to be fine here for this game. 2 miles per hour. At Frank Solich Field. They now call it Frank Solich Field at Peden Stadium, named after, of course, the legendary longtime head coach of the Ohio Bobcats, Frank Solich, who retired a few years ago. All right, UMass and Akron. We've got Akron 11-point home favorites, 49 the total in this one. This is just one of those for me where, here's the thing with Akron. Have we started to see a little bit of improvement from them? Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about that win against Buffalo. They won outright as a 10-point dog. Buffalo has just gone downhill. You talk about one of the disappointments in this conference. Buffalo has turned into that. I don't know what's going on with that Pete Lembo coached Buffalo team, but they've really been a disappointment. So I don't want to give the Zips too many flowers for that victory against Buffalo. I still think when it comes to Ben Finley at the quarterback spot, very spotty, very sporadic. He still barely completed 50% of his passes in that game. But Taquan Roberson was horrific, 4 interceptions. No wonder Buffalo lost and Akron won. When you turn the ball over that many times, you're going to have certainly a boatload of problems. Let's not forget Akron before that. They got blown out by double digits to Ball State, to Miami O, to Toledo. They got absolutely destroyed in that game. They've had some ugly results. It did get a win against Central Michigan, 28-22, but there's been more bad than good from this Akron team. We'll see how they fare here in this one against, obviously, UMass is 0-8 on the season straight up. They are 2-6 against the spread. They have covered a couple of times. Now they've gotten blown out by Kent State, blown out by Western Michigan, blown out by Central Michigan, 38-13 in their last game. They did cover the number against Buffalo, 28-21, but again, pretty bad Buffalo team there in that game. I just can't do it with Akron at double digits. I mean, we're talking Akron. When's the last time Akron's been a double-digit favorite? It's been a long time. I think when you look at the matchup situation now, UMass defensively, hideous. One of the worst defenses in the country. And giving up 106.1 yards per play, 117 in the country. I think now Akron doesn't do anything great on offense, but UMass doesn't do anything great on defense. So something's got to give there in that matchup overall. When it comes to UMass, they can throw. They can't run at all. They can throw a little bit. But Akron is a little bit stronger pass defense than run defense. So it's like both. It's kind of like strength versus strength and weakness versus weakness, really on both sides of the ball, kind of going head to head here in this game. Here's the bottom line. If you forced me to bet this game, and I'm probably not going to bet it, I could only look at the Minutemen plus 11. This is not a point spread roll that Akron has any recent history with, and it's not a team that to me is good enough to be trusted laying 11. I know UMass is probably the worst of these two teams, but you don't ask bad teams to be cover for you, in my opinion, as double-digit favorites. So by default, in a game I'm probably staying far away from, UMass or pass for me. C-Mac, what do you think?
Oh my gosh, this is like the ugly bowl, ugliest game of them all.
It's terrible.
You'd have to take the points here. Akron is the better team, but with the 10, I think you can. You hit on a bunch. I mean, both these teams, when you go through their defensive rank and their offensive rank, it's just like at the bottom in every category. And UMass offensively, both sides, but offensively, dead last, 253 yards a game. I mean, Harrison's been in there. He's been a bit better. You know, looking at their turnover margin, they're only -1 for how many. He doesn't throw a lot of these games. He throws no touchdowns, and he just has one pick in like the last 5 out of 6 games that he's been in there, and a little bit of Rose when he played. So their defense has got a few turnovers, I guess. So they're not at the bottom. But some of these teams, when I was going through it last night, have really got people like FAU. That's why this team can't cover, is they turn the ball over, -15 turnover margin. So it's UMass. I just nothing separates at all with these teams. I think they could be able to run the ball a little bit. Maybe not crazy. I mean, this team averages 85 yards on the ground. But Akron's horrible at stopping the run. I think this is just too large. It's crazy. It's UMass. Take the dog here. Hold your nose. Run away. And bet.
Yeah, bet it and don't watch it. Bet it and don't watch it. It's probably the best advice we can give.
I think it's value with them, and it's ugly. They can't score. When a team can't even score, and then they're horrible on defense. Like if they were like on one side of the ball,
they both can't defend.
Yeah, so they both got
yeah. What's going to give here? Yeah. I think when I think of two bad teams, I think of for total wise, I prefer over than under when it's two really bad teams like this. Maybe they're both going to come in. And UMass, these games with UMass, that's the thing with this total being 49. It's because of the offensive issues both teams have had. But UMass, the Central Michigan game went over the total, had 51 points. The Buffalo game had 49 points, which is right where this total is. 48 against Kent State total points. I'd lean over here. I'd lean over here a little bit. UMass and Akron. There's going to be no weather issues, too, for these Tuesday night MAC games. Looks like we're clear of any weather concerns, which is a good thing to see. Let me just see where these two teams are at right now as far as there we go, seconds per play. That's what I'm looking for here with both of these teams right now. I know with Akron, they haven't exactly – actually, Akron's been keeping still a pretty brisk pace overall, so not bad pace numbers for them. UMass is 23.1 seconds per play this season, 10th in the country. Akron is 37th in the country in pace, and both teams this year compared to last year are playing faster. So, yeah, that strengthens my lean to the over a little bit.
To think about that, how fast UMass plays, it can't score like more than a touchdown a game.
I know.
It's pretty
crazy. More possessions,
rough.
And they still struggle to put the ball in. So, like I said, we'll see how that one plays out. Put the ball in the end zone, that is. All right, Kent State and Ball State. We've got Ball State 2.5-point home favorites in this game. The total sitting at, looks like 46.5 here across the board. This one I definitely think I might bet Ball State as long as this stays below a field goal. in this game. I mean, when you look at Kent State in this MAC conference, we know it's been a struggle for them this season, really outside of a couple of rare instances. But, they've just been a whipping boy for a lot of the teams this season. And not to mention the 0-4, the road record's been just beyond bad. That's, I think, what swings me toward leaning to Ball State here in this game. And Ball State's not a box of chocolates either. Right now, when you look at it, they beat Ohio. I don't know how they did, but they beat Ohio 20-14 outright as a 14.5-point dog. Then they turned around and they lost 42-0. So you talk about a team that such inconsistency in this Ball State team. Then they turn around and they whip Akron 42-28. And then last week against Northern Illinois, they lose 21-7 in that game. Actually, that was a couple weeks ago. They had a bye week last week, the Ball State side. So did Kent State. Both teams off a bye. Kent State with an outright upset against Bowling Green, 24-21. But again, that was at home. They crushed UMass, but again, that was at home. Kent State on the road, they lose 45-10 to Toledo. Now, Oklahoma, Florida State, Texas Tech, different kettle of fish, Power 4 teams, but this is not a team that's been competitive on the road. And you go back to last year, same thing with Kent State. They were just roadkill, really. Throughout MAC play, struggled all season on the road. So I kind of think this is a winnable game for Ball State. Kent State's just been so horrific on the road that I really do think it presents an advantage here for Ball State in this game. The matchups, when you look at it, again, these are two teams that don't do anything phenomenally on the offensive side of the football. But Kent State can't run. They can throw it a little bit more since they made the quarterback change, but Ball State does have a little bit of an advantage as far as the secondary is concerned. And then meanwhile, you flip it around to the Ball State offense here going into this game against Kent State. The Ball State offense, they have certainly had their share of issues as well, make no mistake about it. But Ball State, does run the football a little bit. And the absolute worst part of the defense for Kent State is stopping the run. But Ball State's a little more effective running the football than throwing it. So that plays well into maybe a slight advantage for Ball State, that they are a little bit better running the football, and Kent State is definitely one of the worst teams in college football stopping the run. 204.9 rushing yards per game. That's 131st in the country, Kent State, as far as stopping the run is concerned. So this one I have some interest in Ball State, at anything less than a field goal. CMAC, what do you think? Kent State, Ball State.
Yeah, this is a game I don't know if I'm going to bet. Obviously, Kent State, too. When I look at this game, off the big win, beating Bowling Green, and Ball State, I thought one of their worst performances. I was on them. Tell you about it. I watched the game. They were horrible.
By the way,
they scored yeah, go ahead.
Blowout losses off a win for Kent. Like bad teams off a win is usually a bet against for me personally.
Bingo. That's where it's Ball State.
And I fell into that trap with UAB, and I was worried about it the whole time. I said, UAB got that huge upset win. They rallied around their coach, and I said, but maybe they're going to catch fire. They didn't. They just got absolutely destroyed by UConn. So, again, bad team off a win there, and they couldn't keep it going.
What I think it's just you'd have to do it. It's just a little more juice. I think you just go money line. Like I 2.
Me too.
Maybe I want to. I mean, just to be safe, I think if this game is tight, that could be a couple points. But I think they will be able to run it. Kelly, he was horrible in that game against Northern Illinois. I still think this defense, they have the better defense here. Does Ball State. And they'll be able to run it. Kent State, some of their numbers are skewed. And they played some pretty good teams. I mean, did they put Florida State early? Who else was on here? Oklahoma, 44-0. I mean, those teams just drub them. Yeah. But this defense is awful. And Ball State at home, I think it's a really, really good bounce back spot where they beat teams plenty.
Ball State's 0-5. Look at the home road splits with these two teams. Ball State's 3-0 straight up at home, 0-5 on the road. Kent State's 3-1 at home, 0-4 on the road.
0-4. I know. I was just looking at that.
It feels like home field's the difference. So yeah, give me Ball State.
Yeah, I like it.
Money line I would take as well. Yeah. All right.
I kind of lean under, but MAC games are wacky. I mean, I'm going to look at this total a little bit more at the 46.5.
All right, good stuff. All right, next up, we've got Northern Illinois and Toledo. NIU and Toledo. Toledo 14.5-point home favorites, 41.5 the total here in this game. I mean, it's been really rough for Northern Illinois. Here's another team that on the road, Northern Illinois this year, they get blown out by Ohio 48-21. They lose it as a pick'em to Eastern Michigan 16-10, blown out by Mississippi State. They did cover against Maryland. I remember that game. I was on Northern Illinois plus the points, and they ended up only losing that game by 11. So we'll see how this one plays out between these two teams. But this is the Northern Illinois plus the points or pass for me. I do not ever want to lay double digits with Toledo. That being said, Toledo is a road favorite this year, absolute disaster. Toledo is a home favorite this year. They've been actually a lot better. Home favorites against Akron, they won 45-3. Home favorites against Kent State, they won 45-10. They covered both games. Those are pretty bad teams, but they still covered as home favorite. It's road favorites where they've been a disaster. Western Michigan, double-digit road favorite. They lost outright. Bowling Green, double-digit road favorite. Bowling Green lost Drew Pine in that game to injury. Quarterback situation was a mess for Bowling Green, and Toledo still lost that game outright as a double-digit road favorite to Bowling Green. So this is kind of weird where we say usually we want to fade Toledo as double-digit favorites, but for me it's more so on the road. It seems at home they can be capable of winning by
Look at these home and roads.
Yeah.
Same thing here. 4-0 Toledo and 0-4 for Northern Illinois. Yeah.
That being said, I'll throw another caveat at you because, Toledo's been good in the home favorite role here in MAC play, especially against weak opponents, and Northern Illinois is a weak opponent, certainly a weak offense. I mean, the offense has had issues most of the season. That being said, the last 2 years, last year at Northern Illinois in DeKalb, it was 13-6 Toledo. It was a low-scoring but close game. And then the year before here at Toledo, Northern Illinois was a double-digit dog. Toledo barely won that game straight up 35-33. So maybe they can hang around. They're going to need their defense to play well because their offense is certainly lagging behind Northern Illinois. So it's a lean to Northern Illinois. I like to usually fade Toledo as a double-digit favorite, but I must admit it's usually as a road double-digit favorite. That's been the sweet spot to absolutely hammer betting against Toledo at home. It's a bit of a different story. I'd still lean NIU, though, if I had to bet this game. C-Mac, what do you think? Northern Illinois, Toledo.
Everything when I was looking at this, take these points. But I don't know if I'm going to do it here. I want to, of course, with Toledo. But I think this team could beat up on them. I will see. I think what the difference has been when I've gone is this defense for Toledo and the numbers. With already a bad offense, unless we get turnovers and it's like a low-scoring game, that's how they have to stay in it. We have a low total here with a big spread at 2 touchdowns. It's the only way Northern Illinois could stay in it. And just another team all on the road, just have played horrible football. The offense isn't very good. Bad quarterback play. They can run the ball. Toledo's got a pretty good run defense. And they'd have to really, really eat the clock here, I think, in this game. And basically they're dead last here, Northern Illinois, right? 103 passing yards a game.
Oh, there's no passing game at all to speak of.
There's zilch.
At all.
Yeah. And Toledo has a pretty good pass defense. So maybe Northern Illinois' team total under. I mean, I might look at that. I mean, it's only going to be what? Not even 2 touchdowns here?
Yeah. I'm surprised they haven't changed quarterbacks. They must not have faith in anybody else that they're sticking with Josh.
They don't have it.
Because Josh Holst has 4 touchdowns in 6 games and 3 interceptions. I mean, the passing game has just been a real problem.
I thought, and they played Davidson. I mean, he was just as bad. I don't know what I'm talking about. He's been just as bad earlier when he was playing, right? So, yeah, I think it's Toledo here.
Toledo. There's games where he looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and then there's games where he can't get out of his own way. I mean, it's crazy the ups and downs with Gleason for Toledo.
Oh, I know. By the way, too, that game we were all over with Washington State, it just seems like a perfect bounce back spot. They had the week off, bye week here, basically. Travels, they get plenty of rest. Big home game here. That's another thing too that might keep me off Northern Illinois.
All right, we move to Thursday night football now. UTSA and South Florida. South Florida 14-point home favorites, 68.5 the total in this game. That was damn impressive by UTSA at the Alamo Dome last week, just smoking Tulane in that game. Non-competitive, blew them right off the field.
Tulane,
wow,
didn't get off the bus.
No. And Tulane has shown a few cracks recently that maybe hinted at the fact that maybe something like that could happen, because they weren't great. They were sloppy against East Carolina. They had a bunch of games where they really weren't playing that great a brand of football, Tulane, and it finally bit them in the ass last week. But credit to UTSA. Now, can UTSA carry that forward here against a South Florida team that enters this game off a bye week following their second loss of the season and their first loss in the AAC season against Memphis, 34-31. I mean, the spot screams South Florida, one of the best teams in the conference, off a bye and off that loss to Memphis. So you would expect South Florida to be ready to just rip out of the chute here in this game and start strong. I think the South Florida first half looks, I'm interested, whether it's team total over or this. I don't know about 14 for the game. I don't know what to make out of UTSA. That was a phenomenal game. That's kind of the Owen McCowan I was hoping I would see, but I haven't always seen.
I know. Where's he been
this year? But he was brilliant. He had 2 incomplete passes, almost a perfect game from the quarterback spot for Owen McCowan. 31 of 33, 370 through the air, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Where the fuck's that been all year? You know, and Tulane's defense finally showed up, and UTSA's defense finally showed up too a little bit in that game after getting ripped by North Texas. They lost outright as a favorite to Temple, couldn't get stops. Just been a lot of erratic play. 3 straight overs for UTSA. I think the over could be in play here, although it's very high, 68.5. I agree with our guy Robert in the chat, USF over 69. I think there's a chance this could be an over here in this game when it's all said and done. But I think what I like even more than that is I don't know if I fully trust UTSA to build on last week. It was a great game against, but I think it's every bit Tulane's been a little bit cracks in the armor. This has been building for a while, that Tulane, has not been looking as dominant and as sharp. And then even Retzlaff too, the quarterback. He's gone a few weeks now looking very, very average at quarterback for Tulane. So I don't want to give UTSA too much credit for that. I think off a bye and off a loss, Alex Golish, who's a great coach, has this team ready. I'd be interested in a South Florida team total over and minus the points first half look in this game. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of like it here. I mean, because I kind of like the first half a little bit more. This full game, I think they could still get there, but
and there's still some sevens with the first half on South Florida.
A few 7.5s.
There's some 20.5s with the first half team total, which is great. It's below the key number of 21.
Yeah, I love that. That's like the go-to. When I see 20 and I gotta really love it. Thinking it's just a beat-down game, because it just comes up so big. But yeah, I mean, South Florida, this is a perfect spot for them, I think. And I don't know what to make of UTSA either. Like, they haven't looked really good on the road. Those games, they beat Colorado State early in an ugly game. We talked about this offense just kind of didn't click. They got trounced at North Texas. It kind of seems like this type game, like a 55-17, maybe not that big of a beatdown, and can they carry it on after this, just played excellent. And you want a team like that, plays that well at home, and they go on the road, I kind of want to fade them. So I like the spot for South Florida. I think look at their team total somehow. I'll be on.
All right, next up, we've got Georgia Southern and App State on Thursday night. We've got App State here, 6.5 point home favorite, 62.5 being the total here in this game. Georgia Southern, it's been definitely a bit of a struggle for them, make no mistake about it, throughout the course of the season. They did bring back, of course, this year their quarterback, J.C. French, to the fold. The offense has been, I wouldn't say it's been great, but it's certainly done enough to move the ball. It's been defense, the same old issues for Georgia Southern. They've really had some struggles on that side of the football. We'll see if they can iron those out here in this game against App State. Both of these teams off byes, so there's really no massive advantage here. One thing that's worth noting here about App State is, the last time, the one and only time we've seen them earlier this season as home favorites was against Coastal Carolina. Now, granted, Coastal Carolina has suddenly found some offense in recent weeks, but they lose that game outright as 10.5-point home favorites to Coastal Carolina, 45-37. What's really interesting about App State is that they've kind of gone through back and forth with their quarterback situation. In that loss to Old Dominion before the bye week for App State, that was a game where they started J.J. Cole, but he had 2 interceptions. He ended up getting taken out, benched in the fourth quarter. They went back to A.J. Swan, who was the starting quarterback to begin the season for App State, the Vanderbilt transfer. So, like I said, it's interesting to see who the hell knows what the head coach here for App State's going to do from the quarterback situation. But clearly he's got to use the bye week to sort that out. I don't think they're particularly well coached, if you ask me, either. I was never a big fan on board with the Dowell Loggins hire here at App State. I said that right before the season started. I thought they could have done a better job as far as that goes. Now, they're obviously favored because it's been rough for Georgia Southern, with just one conference win, 3-5. But App State has consistently this year, repeatedly had opportunities as favorites and spit the bit. I think I have to look a little bit, at least mild interest in Georgia Southern here, plus the points in this spot. I don't trust App State. Don't love them. App State's defense has been really nothing to write home about either. Let's not forget that they've had games where they've given up some significant points as well. So I think Georgia Southern, might be able to hang around here in this game. I know it's been rough for them on the road. The Arkansas State loss, the James Madison loss, but App State is not a team I trust laying points with their defense and with the quarterback carousel that's going on. So I have to lean Georgia Southern here in this one. C-Mac, what do you think?
I need more than a touchdown here. There's just no way I'm taking a 6.5. No way. This Georgia Southern team, and I think, I hate to say they're due, but I think they play a better road game. This team has been dog shit, and we've gone through all these kind of shitty teams. As sometimes in these weekday games, another 0-4 team, she gets blasted on the road. But what I like is, I think, and this is key to it, is French. If he takes care of the ball, I think they'll be able to pass it on this secondary of App State. That isn't very good. That's big. So, and if he doesn't turn the ball over, they could definitely be in it. I just said there's too many question marks in this game to have my money. And I know on the other side, I don't know if it really matters who's that quarterback with both these guys, really, for App State. They're always a little bit better at home, too. But I don't trust them playing points. It's just it's not enough for me here.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It's below. I was hoping to get 7 or better too, but I know I'm not laying it with App State. That much I can tell you for sure. All right, we move to Friday night. We've got Houston and UCF. This is a pretty good one here. Big 12 Friday night matchup. We've got UCF 1.5-point home favorites, 47.5 the total here in this one. I know Baylor had this big time powwow before the game against UCF, where they had the leaders of the player leadership group had a meeting, and they probably they played better, and give them credit. That's no excuse for UCF only scoring 3 points against that horrendous defense, though. What the hell happened to UCF's offense last week against Baylor? 30-3, and I like Taven Jackson. It was a horrific day for him against a defense that couldn't stop anybody, and he only threw 18 of 33, 151 through the air. Terrible performance against Baylor's defense. If you're having that kind of a day against Baylor's defense, what are you going to do here against a much better Houston team on that side of the football? That's going to be the big question here. Can Taven Jackson have a bounce back? And he's still been the best quarterback they've had, UCF, but that was definitely not a good performance from him. It looks like now he's slated to still be the starter. No change coming from Scott Frost at the quarterback position. Meanwhile, Houston, how do you explain what happened to them? 12.5-point favorites. They lose 45-35 to West Virginia last week. I'll tell you what, Scotty Fox Jr., new quarterback here for West Virginia, played solid. more importantly, they got the ground game going. He was a dual threat. He had 65 rushing yards. Diore Hubbard ran the football well. I mean, that was the difference. I mean, Houston couldn't stop the run all of a sudden. This is the most bizarre thing in the world.
They haven't been lately.
No, and that Houston started the year just so stout against the run, and now all of a sudden their overall numbers look good, but suddenly the last few games their rush defensive numbers have not been nearly so good. So that does concern me here a little bit going into this game with Houston and UCF. I like Willie as a dog. Willie Fritz usually in the underdog role. I still think I might bet Houston here. I know the bounce house Friday night sometimes can give you a little bit of a home field bump if you're UCF, but this is a UCF team that's in the midst of a, fairly mediocre season, right? They're 4-4. They haven't played all that great. They are 4-1 straight up at home, but you look at the home games, so far this season for UCF, you go all the way back, West Virginia, North Carolina, NCA&T, Jacksonville State. You know what I mean? They haven't played a team this like this at home this year. So I just think Houston better teams, and I still think Houston didn't look like it last week. Better defense, and maybe that defense bounces back here. Maybe that aura of unfamiliarity with West Virginia kind of changing things up, going with a different quarterback, kind of threw Houston for a loop. Let's not forget UCF's offense scored 3 points against one of the worst defenses in the Big 12, Baylor. So it lends me to believe that Houston can bounce back defensively. For me, it would be Houston or nothing in this game. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a good for both teams after just horrible performances. And I don't know what to make of Houston and their defense. I want this under, flat out.
Yeah.
But I've lost trust a little bit when what Houston's doing. I think UCF, their defense is pretty good too. When I talk about this, like they could kind of slow this game down. I don't think they really want to get into a shootout. But they're at home here, in these midweek games. As much as I think Houston's a little bit better, I think Jax will be better. I think, too, that UCF game against Baylor, like it was kind of just quit in the second half. It was like, I don't know. Yeah, it was like we're getting our ass beat, 30-3 or 27-3, and they were ready to just get out of there. So, but they're back here at home, and I kind of like them. I mean, I want to bet on both these teams, but I think UCF at home is the play, and I think Jackson's a little bit better, and I like the under.
All right, next up, we've got Tulane and Memphis. We've got Memphis 6.5-point home favorites, 55.5 the total in this game. Didn't work out, and that's putting it mildly. My bet with the Rice Owls, that was a dead owl last week against Memphis. But give Memphis credit. That has been a spot and a situation in the past where after a huge win like they had against South Florida, they shit the bed as a big favorite the very next game. They avoided that for a change. Very dominant performance against Rice, 38-14. We'll see if they can keep it rolling here in this game against Tulane. 8-1 straight up, 8-1 against the spread now for this Memphis team. A Memphis team that actually beat Tulane 34-24 last year, late in November. And of course, that was the Seth Hennigan Memphis Tiger teams. We'll see if Tulane can exact some redemption here. It is worth noting that Tulane did beat Memphis 31-21 here in this stadium, the Liberty Bowl, a couple of years ago. Tulane off a brutal game against UTSA, but this is multiple weeks now where they have looked very average, very lackluster. You go back to escaping East Carolina with at home with a 26-19 win at home against ECU. They were very lethargic in that game. The offense stopped working after a strong start. The Army game, I thought the offense again was very choppy in that game. 10-point favorites. They just get past Army 24-17. And then, of course, blown off the field last week against UTSA 48-26. Get absolutely carved up by Owen McCowan and that UTSA offense. Part of me really wants to back Tulane here. At getting points now, they're an underdog. They have not been in this point spread role very often this season. Only twice, and that was against Ole Miss one of the times. That's actually the only time They've been a dog this year. The Ole Miss game. Now they did fail to cover in that one, 45-10. Jake Retzlaff has been certainly a lot worse. I mean, 2 interceptions, 50% completions, doesn't even finish the game. They turned to Brendan Sullivan and Jimmy Callaway, both got in to finish that game for Tulane. I want to take Tulane. I don't know if I love the direction where this is going. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like the way things completely fell apart for them. It looked like they kind of packed it in the loss last week against UTSA. And maybe it's time I start having more respect for Memphis. And let's not forget, Memphis beat a damn good South Florida team on this field in comeback fashion, but they still got it done. Maybe they get it done here, and maybe they get it done here by margin with just how much of a decline we've seen from Tulane in recent weeks. So it's a tough one, but I still lean Tulane. I do. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, another thing is
I still think it's a coaching advantage too for Sumrall over Silverfield. But maybe he doesn't have the horses this year. You can't tell him. Definitely, it looks like Memphis does have the better team and better personnel the more you start to watch teams. But
this Memphis team too, just cashing tickets.
Yeah.
Everyone I think here is going to be on Memphis.
On Tulane.
Yeah. No, I think they're going to be on Memphis here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're 8-1. They're 8-1 ATS. Yeah. They just beat down Rice. Yeah. Tulane looks like dog shit.
Yeah.
But I think the play would be Tulane. That's what I'm getting at. Like one team after just an easy win. The only thing is Tulane is back-to-back road games. We already hit on it earlier. They just didn't show up. I mean, they just got their ass kicked from jump. I think Retzlaff's going to be better. I was glancing through some of the numbers. Like, I think Tulane runs the football here. Memphis's run D has been pretty good. I mean, they gave up 128. That's 48. But if Tulane can establish line of scrimmage and run here, they average 175 on the ground. And we know Retzlaff can take off. I think they're in this game a little bit. So I like Tulane. I got to look at this one more.
Tulane is better against the run than against the pass, and Memphis predominantly wants to get it done on the ground. So it's another thing that kind of lends you to believe that maybe Tulane can be right in this game. But again, that was a bad look. Just it looked like they stopped playing, gave up early.
Yes,
UTSA. That's what it looked like, and
and their defense is falling apart.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Tulane is falling apart defensively.
Yeah,
like they've just I don't know. They look bad. I mean, they're giving up just about 400 yards, right? A game, right around there. So that's kind of tough to take. So, this is a wait and see for me.
This is not a wait and see. I have a bet on this next game. A little late night, Friday night West Coast action in the Big Ten, Northwestern, USC. USC 14.5-point home favorites, 52 the total. I'm taking the dog here, Northwestern. Northwestern off a bye week. Northwestern with the extra time, obviously. Northwestern's covered 4 straight as a dog, or 4 straight ATS, 4-0 ATS. Couple were as a favorite, ULM and Purdue, but they were also a dog at Penn State. Won that one outright. Lost by 7 at Nebraska last week. Covered the number by the hook there in that game. There's a lot of things to like about Northwestern in recent weeks. I mean, Stone's at least been a little bit better. Komalafe's ran the football well for them. The defense has picked it up a notch or two. As well. USC coming off a narrow escape against Nebraska, 21-17. Now back home where, it's been a little bit spotty from them as in this home favorites role when it's all said and done. Jaden Mayava in the offense, just I know it was a tough road game, and again, tough road travel, USC, with the travel to the Midwest and the East Coast, again, struggling ATS for Lincoln Riley. But with Northwestern off the bye, normally I wouldn't love backing a team like Northwestern, traveling to the West Coast, playing on late night game. It's going to start at 10:30 p.m., 9 p.m. I should say Eastern. That's actually not as bad. 9 p.m. Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific. I've seen enough improvement in Northwest, and I continue to see this USC defense not look great. I mean, Dylan Raiola got injured and had to leave the game against USC, and Raiola has not been overly impressive to me this year, but boy, he had a really good first half and a bit before he got injured against USC. The more I watch USC's defense, the more I'm not very impressed, quite honestly. You can move the football on this team, and now they're a little bit banged up in some positions on offense. The last few weeks, they've had some offensive line personnel injuries. We're starting to see teams clamp down on Lane and Lemon, the two receivers, forcing Maava to put the ball elsewhere. They've also been banged up. Wayman Jordan, the great running back, has been hurt. So there's a lot of issues still for USC. And meanwhile, Northwestern's coming in here much fresher and rested and getting some of their injured players rested and ready to go following a bye week. And they're catching a healthy number. So I like Northwestern at this number with the spot, good price, in my opinion. USC team, I'm not trusting in this price range at the moment. Too many defensive issues suddenly for them. CMAC, what do you think? Wildcats, Trojans.
I think the spot here is good for SC, but I can't lay points with him. I have a little bit of issue with Northwestern. I think they are the better defense here. A stone is an issue. I mean, I think we had the 7.5 a couple weeks ago, Nebraska, but he wasn't good in that game either. And Northwestern, their defense has been good. They've been good against the pass. We just saw Maava in that game. What was he like 9 of 23? 130. That was kind of a strange one. You should be better here, but you're getting points here with the better defense. I think it's just this Northwestern offense. But maybe this is the back door. Maybe they're up by 20. We've seen it before with SC plenty of times. Be up 17 and let the late touchdown in. So, and I just got Stone. I've seen enough of Stone that I want to throw a stone. Just chuck it. Chuck him.
Chuck it at him. They play better.
Yes, buddy, come on. And he's on the road here, but I think they could move it. See, I agree with you here. I mean, as long as you have 14.5, I like it.
All right, next up, we go to Saturday now. Florida and Kentucky. Florida 3-point road favorites, 45.5 the total in this game. Florida, great effort against Georgia, but falls short against the Bulldogs. And appreciate someone on our YouTube chat comment or YouTube comments with our last show that we did last Monday saying great call on the Florida early. Yeah, no doubt. First quarter, first half looks on Florida in that game were excellent. And then Kirby Smart does Kirby Smart things, makes adjustments, figures out what's happening, and the team plays better as the game goes on. That's been the Georgia pattern all season long. But Florida did give it one heck of a go against Georgia following the coaching change and Billy Napier getting fired. Now you have to wonder what they've got in the tank. And now they're going on the road here after being in the cocktail party last week against Georgia and Jacksonville. Now you're going to Lexington here to face a Kentucky team that, while they're not great, they're coming off an excellent defensive effort against Auburn. Completely shut them down, got Hugh Freeze canned in the process, and Kentucky winning that one outright as double-digit dogs 10-3. I don't know. Something tells me with Florida, that was their all-in game last week against Georgia. I wouldn't be laying 3 with them on the road in this spot. It's Kentucky for me if I get involved in it. CMAC, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this is a flat spot. To me, these guys, and I'm right after that dead under, which it was 16.5. I stayed off. I didn't like many late games on Saturday, which when there really wasn't a ton good ones, but I just needed that 17.5. Didn't matter with Kentucky. I was just dead under. Didn't matter. I mean, I have to think this is an under here. It seems like Florida will be flat. Kentucky's a little bit better at home. I don't love they're off that great game, but I mean, 10-3. Boley was all right, even though he did course through 2 picks. Again.
Here's the thing with Boley. Boley's been rough on the road, but Boley's put together some.
He's been better at home.
Games at home. Yeah. Yep.
That's true. He has. He's still watching him turn the ball over. It's like, yeah, having your money on a guy that's horrible. It makes me sickening. It just makes me sick. So yeah, I think this total's too high. I worry that maybe they just kind of bounce back and there's some more points, but they don't play quick. I like the under here. And I think Kentucky. It's just short this price. Them 3. Are there 2s everywhere or what? What's the number?
Oh, it's 3. It's 3.
There's 3 everywhere? Okay. I need to look.
There's 3.5 in a couple spots, actually. If you can get 3 in the hook, Kentucky's the play for me here.
It seems like it's just going to be tight.
Yeah.
Right? Like, they probably tight even first half. maybe get 10-7 or yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's Kentucky at 3. There was some 3.5s out there. Yeah, that's worthy of a bet in my opinion, especially at 3.5 here in this game. Not to mention Florida on the road this year. I'm just looking at it now. They're 0-3 straight up, and ATS too on the road this year, Florida. So yeah, and off that, give it their all effort against Georgia, tooth and nail, fall short. This could be a smackdown. Actually, I could not just see Kentucky winning, but maybe going away. Like this could be where Florida just hits a wall. What do you think? Next up, we got Colorado, West Virginia. Big 12 action. West Virginia, 6.5-point home favorites. 55.5 the total in this game. Quarterback issues on both sides going into this game. First of all, Dion and Colorado get absolutely smoked last week at home in Boulder by Arizona. Just a brutal game. Brutal. And Dion's had enough. Julian Lewis, the freshman, everyone says he's got a good amount of talent, replaced Caden Salter and Ryan Staub both got into the game, and both were awful. And Julian Lewis entered that game late, and now Julian Lewis is finally going to get a start here for Colorado. And it was only a matter of time because Salter's just not been good enough or consistent enough. And obviously we've seen Staub is okay, but he's kind of like a program guy. He's been there forever. If he was good, he'd be starting, much earlier in his career than he has. So Julian Lewis, you got to think it's got the potential to be an upgrade. And we know the West Virginia defense is still not great, but maybe West Virginia's found an offense here. Last week to put 45 points on the board against Houston. It was really, really impressive. I know Khalil Wilkins had been the starter for them, but you can't complain about the way Scotty Fox Jr. Ended up playing. And I think Rich Rod's smart enough to say, you know what, he played well in the win against Houston. He ran the ball for 65 yards. He had 157 passing yards. Not huge passing numbers, but good enough. Ran the offense efficiently enough that you give him another start. I think this is definitely an over. I'm going to peg Colorado's offense for improvement with Julian Lewis because he does have talent. West Virginia, like I said, that was very impressive. They're at home. If Colorado, here's the thing. I lean West Virginia from a side perspective, laying the 6.5 because I like what I saw. They're at home. Colorado's a mess. But what if Colorado gets a spark from this Julian Lewis starting for them? What if they get a spark from it? What if he plays well? As far as and he's got a high amount of upside. There's a high ceiling for him from everything I've seen and heard and read about Julian Lewis. So that's why I prefer the over, I think, in this game. And I'm kind of pumping the brakes. I was initially looking at West Virginia saying Colorado could just have a free fall the rest of the season, whereas West Virginia is getting better, as evidenced by that win against Houston. But with the Julian Lewis factor and the fact this kid might be pretty friggin' good at quarterback has got me maybe pumping the brakes a bit on laying it with West Virginia. Even though I do lean West Virginia and the Mountaineers here, the over might be the stronger stance for me in this game. C-Mac, what do you think here?
Yeah, we talked about those shitty late games. I'm so glad I didn't bet Colorado. They were talking about, like, sometimes it's better these games to stay off it when you go through at the end of the day. I don't know. It seems like Dion's lost it.
If you think Julian Lewis is going to not be any good, unlike what some people think, you got to lay it with West Virginia because West Virginia to me is on the upward trajectory. Colorado's on the way down. But if you think Julian Lewis can play, not as easy to lay the 6.5.
I think he could maybe move the ball here a little bit. West Virginia's defense still isn't great. It's looked better in spots like the last month. I think you just look at West Virginia's team total here. I mean, it seems like they get to 30, right? It's just horrible. I don't know what's happening.
Got a chance. If Arizona's doing that to Colorado, they certainly could.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. West Virginia's team total. What's his name? Fox just played well. So it is a big win. This is a classic big road win, and Colorado Dion's dealing with some stuff. I don't know. I think he's kind of lost it there in Colorado. And do you want to back him or they're not good on the road?
Lots and health issues like crazy, like he's having, and issues pissing, half the time. No wonder he's he's distracted by other things. Maybe that's impacting his coaching negatively and his ability to. I'm sure it has to in some degree.
Yeah, I think West Virginia gets their team total. Maybe not the crazy. They get over. It's got to be 30.
Yep.
30 or around there. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, West Virginia team total 30.5. So, yeah, you get it below that key number of 31 if you bet it, no doubt. All right, SMU, Boston College. How about the big win for SMU? Good old Mario Cristobal up to his old tricks, losing a game as a massive favorite yet again, just like he did against Louisville. Some things never change. And SMU was the benefactor as they got the job done in overtime against Miami at home last week. But do we put up the old stop sign and fade them and turn around and sell SMU after that win here? They're laying 10.5 on the road against Boston College, 55 the total in this game. SMU has been so bloody inconsistent and erratic. I wouldn't put it past them to be in a battle in this game and maybe even lose this game. That's how crazy and up and down they've been at times, especially how do you lose to Wake, last week or 2 weeks ago? Then you turn around, you beat Miami 26-10. Boston College, I'll say this. Couple weeks in a row now, they've been, after that brutal run they had, they've shown some ability to compete and hang against Louisville. They only lost by 14. Bill O'Brien made the decision to, he actually took Grayson James out, put Dylan Lonergan back in late in the game. So does that leave the door open to a little bit of a quarterback question here? Who's going to be in for BC, at the quarterback spot in this game? That remains to be seen. Their defense, for the most part, has been absolutely terrible, Boston College, but I actually thought they hung in there a little bit against Notre Dame on defense. I don't think it was nearly as bad. That is a very good Notre Dame offense, and Notre Dame had to work for it, for a good chunk of that game. No question about that. Horrible spot for SMU, Dram Yankee. Totally agree. Don't want them this week. I was on them against Miami last week. I don't want them here. Do I want Boston College? That's what this boils down to, and I haven't decided yet. C-Mac, what do you think?
I can't do it. This is where I would take Boston College. I can't do it. Like, this is a classic flat spot. This seems like a 10-point win. Like, I'd look out if you're loving SMU this week. BC is just horrible. They have looked like better in the last couple of weeks. They still just turn the ball over. They're tight a little bit there, which is, used to be a good rivalry game, but Boston College better all these years when they play Notre Dame. It kind of was, we talked about that with the huge number. And
here's the one thing.
What's his face? Love broke like a 90-yarder there at the end of the game.
Yes.
I saw that. Yeah.
That was not an easy. I mean, I thought Boston College, it was a game effort from them last week.
It was.
Yep.
And the quarterback play has been horrible.
Boston College can only throw the football. They can't run it worth a hill of beans this year. Boston College. They have no run game. They have a decent enough passing game from James and or Lonergan. And I'll say one thing about SMU negatively. Their pass defense numbers, woof, not good. They're giving up like
I know they've been up a lot.
SMU through the air. So
and they've looked like in certain games, but that secondary has got beat up a bunch. So no way I'm taking SMU. I'll keep the money for last week,
I will probably end up betting Boston College, but I just don't know how big of a bet it's going to be.
Yeah.
But I think
I'd like to be on.
The more I look at it, at home, Chestnut Hill, those pass defense numbers of SMU are pretty wretched, and all Boston College can do offensively for the most part is throw the football. So
if you tell me, like, this is just how it is with those quarterbacks, they don't throw any picks or fumbles. Like, they cover.
Yep.
Like, or one maybe a mistake that kind of doesn't matter in the game, but it's just too bad. The turnovers are awful with this BC team.
All right, next up, we've got Florida State, Clemson. Clemson 2-point home favorites, 56 the total in this game. This game, I'm just forget the side. Screw the side. I have no interest betting a side in this game. None, zero. Florida State, okay, you could say they got back on track. Wake Forest was a whole lot of bad and terrible in that game against Florida State.
Right away.
Don't go crazy thinking, Florida State, really great response. They're back on the beam again. Don't forget about the fact that prior to that Wake win, this is a team that lost as double-digit favorites to Pittsburgh and Stanford, which was a terrible loss. That being said, this could be a let-go-of-the-rope game for Clemson. That loss against Duke, and they played hard against Duke, and Cade Klubnik and the offense looked good. Antonio Williams had a big game, but the defense is horrendous for Clemson. They could not stop Darian Mensah and the Duke offense with the game on the line. Absolutely atrocious. You saw Dabo screaming his head off at the defensive players on the sideline during that game. Frustrated they couldn't get a single stop when they needed it. You got to think, as for as schizo as Tommy Castellanos can be, he can probably have success here, because everybody can have success moving the football this year against Clemson's defense. But I think Clemson, again, I could let go of the rope as a concern, because they gave it their all. They lost. Another kick in the nuts defeat for Clemson, a team that's going absolutely nowhere except maybe a lower tier bowl game. And I say maybe because that's not even a guarantee right now for Clemson at 3-5 on the season. They have work to do just to get to they have think about Clemson and where they've been for the last decade. ACC championships, higher New Year's Day bowl games, national championship, college football playoff, you name it. They're going to be freaking hard pressed to get the Bell Helicopters Armed Forces Bowl this year. That's where they're at right now. Or the freaking Mayo Bowl, or some fucking
Mayo Bowl, Weed Eater Bowl,
dumbass bowl game. That's now apparently the goal
for
Clemson at this point. Yeah, Dabo could spread that mayonnaise on his head if they were to win that, like they all do. That's now the only thing you've got left to strive for in what's been an unbelievably disappointing season for Clemson. So I want no part of taking Clemson as a favorite, even at home. And I don't like Florida State all that much, but what I think I will bet is the over. I'm going to trust. I think both of these offenses at least have shown a pulse on that side of the ball, and I don't trust either of them defensively. Let's not forget Wake offense is very much not the greatest. Wake does not have an explosive offense. Let's keep in mind how Florida State's been ripped a few times this year by better offenses. The one positive I'll say about Clemson is that was one of the best performances I've seen out of Klubnik in the offense last week against Duke. So they should be able to move it. I think Florida State, like most teams, should be able to move it against Clemson's defense. Clemson should be able to move it against Florida State's defense. So the over is what I'm more interested in. C-Mac, what do you think?
I like the over. I don't love it. This one I just wish was it seems like it's going to get there. Yeah. This is like just under 54. I'll be all over it, I think. I got a 53.5. But I don't know how they really make any stops in this game. Watching Clemson, they can't defend the pass. Florida State should just be able to throw it. And same thing. I mean, I think Clemson's offense could get to Florida State. I would take Florida State here. I mean, I don't love it. That game was wild. I had Duke. That was kind of a wild ending to that game. And by the way, when is this guy on the block here with all these coaches going down? Is he just going to keep fucking losing and they're just going to keep him?
I think he's assistants around him. People always said that Dabo was made by great assistants and great coaches around him, saying he doesn't have that anymore. And now look what's happened. Know what?
It's just it's always kudos to those guys that have teams that for long stretches at least played, good football, Bobby Bowden or whatever. It's just tough to win and be at the top for, like more than 10 years. Like they had at least like 6-year run that they had. So, yeah. I don't mind it. I like the over kind of. Thought it was a little high.
All right, there we go. Next up, we've got Cal and Louisville. Louisville, 19.5-point home favorites, 50.5 the total here in this game. There's a lot of points here for Louisville in this game, I must admit. A Louisville team that enters this game, they had a 12-point win at Virginia Tech. They did cover, but it was close to the number. They didn't cover against Boston College. The big upset win against Miami. They lost outright as 6.5-point favorites. When they were 3-point favorites against Pitt, they won by 7. Bowling Green, 26.5-point favorites, non-cover. James Madison, 15-point favorites, non-cover. It just feels like for Louisville here, I don't feel comfortable in this price range with them because a lot of their wins have been in the 7-point win, 3-point win, 14-point win, 12-point win. They got to win this game by 3 touchdowns here if they're going to cash a ticket. That being said, you do have Cal making the long travel from the West Coast here to Louisville, coming off another disheartening loss to Virginia, 31-21, pick 6 from JKS, Jaron Kiave Sagapolutele. Brutal if you had Cal plus the points in that game. Absolutely brutal to lose that bet in that kind of manner. But hey, it happens every now and then. Now 0-4 to this team against the spread, the Golden Bears in their last 4 games. That being said, I'd take Cal plus the points before I lay this many with Louisville. It's just a lot of points, and Louisville's not been gaining margin like this very often so far on the season, this Louisville team. So that would be the one concern I would have. I don't know if I get involved in this game, though, if I'm being quite honest. What do you think here with this one, Connor Mack, Cal Louisville?
Let's get to Cal. That was, this shit happens. It's just tough when I was like, you get rolling on afternoon, like you win like 6 straight bats. I just needed that last game, and he throws a pick 6. Man, I thought of fucking no Vaseline, idle Ice Cube when that happened, all the way to the house. So, but I think the points here with Cal. Where's our guy Kongs? Is he still in the chat? Is this Louisville, their running back, out, by the way?
Well, that is definitely something to keep an eye on. You're right. His status is very much up in the air. Duke Watson is who you're talking about here for this Louisville team. He did come back against Virginia Tech, and has been out for a few games now. And it looks like I wouldn't be shocked if he's out again this week. That's probably what we're looking at here for Louisville. Miller Moss, here's the thing with Miller Moss. He's been all right. I think he could cut down on the interceptions a little bit. Can't complain. I mean, he still has a good completion rate, 11 touchdowns, but has had a few too many interceptions. I don't know what's happened to Cal. JKS has kind of hit a wall. It's almost like teams are starting to figure out where he wants to go with the football. That being said, Louisville does not have a body of work of winning by 3 touchdowns this year very often.
You know what? It just seems, I was just thinking, it seems like a BC game. It just seems like this is going to be 38-24.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? Yeah. Like that. I think this is a boat like this. This might be painful.
Yeah.
After what happened to me, but when I see the value, I'm going to run through this a little bit more this week, but my eyes are huge looking at 20 points. They just turn the ball over, Cal. The defense has gone to shit, and they're just the offense. They can't run the ball.
No.
And so they have to throw it. They can't run it. So they'll probably be down. They'll just be throwing it.
And
so
the receivers have had the dropsies all year too.
Oh, dude, the receivers are horrible.
Yeah, not good. Not a good combination. That's for damn sure. Not a good combination. All right, Syracuse, Miami. How does Miami respond from another disheartening loss? They're laying 29 against Syracuse, 46.5 the total in this game. I could only back Syracuse, but good God, they have no offense right now. Like absolutely zero offense. And zero offense in a game like this could make it difficult for Syracuse to even cover a number like this. Because I could see this being 35-3 for Miami, and Miami covers just because Syracuse doesn't score or only puts up. But that's how bad it is. Like they had a guy playing fucking lacrosse at Syracuse starting at quarterback for them at the end of that North Carolina game. Because, again, Fran Brown, I feel bad for the guy. The season's just completely gone to shit since Angeli went down, the quarterback. Ricky Collins was terrible. You could not put him in again. But they put Joe Filardi in. This is the guy that was a lacrosse player at Syracuse before he became part of the football roster. And this guy, had 4 of 18 for 39 yards? 4 of 18 for 39
He needs to go back to lacrosse.
Yeah, should be going back to lacrosse. That's the problem, right? Like, I want to fade Miami so badly because this is the time of the year where sometimes the roof starts to cave in on Cristobal after a couple of bad losses. But how can you trust Syracuse to move the football at all, even against Miami here? I don't know if I can. C-Mac, it's probably a pass for me. C-Mac, what do you think?
I had to do it. I just thought North Carolina, we'd see them play a little bit better. I was like, I got to bet them. Like where we talked about last Monday, where it was just so ugly. And, man, this Syracuse, I don't know how they move the football here. I think this is Miami team total clear. And even this is 7.5. I don't know if they get 10 points. Like, I think it's under the touchdown. Like, they get I'd take Syracuse team total under 7.5. You got to think Miami's going to be focused here, at least. I don't know how they move the ball. At least Miami's defense, I think, is okay. Maybe they were overrated. There's a lot of hype. always a lot of hype after like 4 weeks, which always gets me pretty excited doing all this all the time. But yeah, I can't take Syracuse until I see anything from them.
All right, next up, Stanford, North Carolina. North Carolina, 9-point home favorites, 41.5 the total in this game. Pitt blown out at home by, Stanford blown out at home by Pitt, 35-20 last week. They've really hit the skids here. The Miami blew them out 42-7 the week before. It looks like that Florida State win, kind of an anomaly where they won 20-13 against Florida State as 17.5-point dogs. Other than that, it's been pretty rough, especially in ACC play for Stanford. Now they got to make the long trip to Chapel Hill. Bill Belichick, Chapel Hill, North Carolina for this game against the Tar Heels. You look at Stanford on the road, 0-5 straight up, 0-5 against the spread as well. They have not covered away from home yet this year. Hawaii lost. BYU lost 27-3 on the road. Virginia lost 48-20 on the road. They lost to SMU 34-10 on the road. Miami 42-7 on the road. I mean, it's been one blowout loss. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'd actually lean to North Carolina -9 before I take Stanford here. And I'll say this, too, about North Carolina. We've seen a little pulse out of this team the last few weeks. They should have beat Cal. They didn't, but they covered. They should have beat Virginia, and Virginia's a pretty solid team. They should have beat them, and they didn't. They lost by 1 in overtime. And then, of course, finally against Syracuse, yeah, the offense was kind of sputtering along early, but there was no chance of Syracuse moving the football or doing anything offensively. And eventually they got enough offense from Damon June on the ground and Gio Lopez, the quarterback, to be able to eventually pull away with that 21-0 second half and beat Syracuse 27-10. But you can tell they're getting better. This is going to be the test, though. Are they ready to be 9-point favorites? Against a team like Stanford, who's been obliterated in one road game after another, maybe they are ready to be 9-point favorites. So I do lean to the Tar Heels here, -9. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to take my win with them last week. Not at this number. I think they're improving. The defense has looked.
Defense.
They are getting better, and this seems like.
You'd expect Bill Belichick's a defensive coach by background. You'd expect better eventually.
The Stanford offense. Just it just can go so south, and like just do nothing for so long in stretches, and they've been so bad on the road. I just don't have faith in them taking them. So yeah, I think this is a game I will be pass, and this total's low as well. I was going over this. If this was higher, I'd be all over the under.
Yeah, no doubt. I think, like I said, it's just an interesting placement here of the total. And like I said, for Stanford, their defense has really, really suffered the last few weeks. And Ben Gulbransson's just not the guy that's you're not going to be able to trade points with the opponent when your defense is struggling with a guy like Ben Gulbranson. It's just
he's a tough watch.
He can be a tough watch sometimes. There's no question about that. Indiana, Penn State. Indiana, 15.5-point road favorites, 49.5 the total in this game. I'll say this about Penn State. Certainly you saw a spark as far as an effort's concerned last week against Ohio State. Clearly, of course, they were up against it. Playing the Buckeyes, that defense on the road last week in that game. But I thought their own defense kind of hung in there long enough to try to make that a game. But I think, with the struggles that we saw once again from Grunkemeyer, the quarterback, it just got to the point where they just got, wore down. They were on the field a ton, and they eventually still ended up giving up almost 500 yards. They did hang in there for a half, but like I said, they just got worn down as that game went on. And a 17-14 Ohio State halftime lead. And Ohio State pitches the shutout in the second half, 21-0 to open it up and beat Penn State 38-14. Look, every week, including last week against Maryland for this Indiana team, what have I been doing? I've been taking Indiana team total over and the full game over, and it keeps on hitting. I could only look in that. I'm leaning in that direction again here, that Indiana goes over their team total and the game maybe goes over. But this one, I don't know if Penn State's how much scoring they're going to do. Necessarily here in this game, because I'm telling you what, it's rough right now with Grunkemeyer. But I think Indiana can go over their team total again. We're seeing them 38, 56, and 55 points Mendoza's just it's ridiculous what he's doing right now. He's playing awesome. The run game has been good too. They got two good ones in Black and Hemby, the Maryland transfer. Omar Cooper leading the receiving corps. They can just score points in a blink. And so Indiana team total over is probably going to be another bet for me with the Hoosiers over their team total. Lean to the full game over, but I like the team total of it more. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, their team total is what, 33.5?
Yeah, team total here is 33.5. You got it.
Yeah, 33.5.
They should get to 35.
I think they get there. They just blew out Maryland. This is another road game. I really don't want to go against them. I just don't know if I could trust Penn State here. Like, I haven't bet them at all. I just faded Penn State and just won. And I don't know what quarterback play we're going to get here from Grunker. I don't trust him. And can the defense, their defense isn't very good. It's like, it's okay. They have athletes and it looks all right at times, but they're still not very good. No. And as we saw, UCLA, Northwestern, all those losses, you know what I mean? And it's just a tricky spot. Like, if you love Indiana, just go in there and cruise. Yeah, maybe just their team total. And maybe they're on a mission here, but I'll just watch. I want nothing here. I don't want another road game with Indiana.
Well, Indiana's a run-heavy offense too, and Penn State's been much worse against the run defensively. Yeah. So it sets up. It's a hand-in-glove fit for Indiana to have success offensively here.
Maybe they just rip off 300 yards and win 41-10.
That's been a big part of it too for Penn State. Why is Franklin fired? Why have they had a disappointing season? Obviously, Drew Aller wasn't great in the early going. He gets hurt. The defense just was never any good, as much as people thought it would be too. That's a big problem for Penn State and why they've had this disappointing season as well. Defense was overrated from the beginning as well. All right, next up we've got Ohio
These
State.
Are dangerous spots though. You just don't know what you're going to get for the quarterback play. It seems like I don't think the little people are going to like Penn State. But when I see this number, it's like I want them at home. But, catching all these points. But Indiana's just been that damn good. Sometimes you just got to, maybe stay off.
Ohio State, Purdue. Ohio State 29.5 point road favorites, 48.5 the total in this game. I'm very tempted to take Purdue first half Purdue here. I think at home they're going to, sky high with Ohio State coming into town. I think there's a chance they get absolutely destroyed as this game goes along. But maybe in the early going with Ohio State, not that Penn State's a big win anymore for them last week, beating the Nittany Lions the way they did. But they did start off a little slow in that game, Ohio State against against Penn State. Maybe early Penn State or Purdue, can kind of hang around. I don't know. I can't trust them for the 4 quarters, though, because I think eventually at some point, Ohio State could just open it up. And look at last week as a perfect example, right? They actually were only up by 3 at halftime, and then after halftime, they just put the boots to Penn State. That could be the similar story here. Let's not forget Purdue, they're competitive against Rutgers, competitive against Minnesota. If not for turnovers, they're right in the games with Illinois and Notre Dame before that. And then, of course, against Michigan last week, 21-16. They ended up taking them down to the wire. Now, Michigan has clearly got issues. We know that. That's a big part of it, no question. Underwood, not what he's cracked up to be. But nevertheless, I think maybe a first quarter on Purdue. Just, catch Ohio State a little slow, a little sluggish out of the gate, and then eventually they could wake up and get going here. And long term, throughout the course of the 60 minutes, Purdue's offense is probably going to find it tough sledding against one of the best defenses in the country. But I think in this kind of situation, first quarter, Purdue maybe takes advantage of an Ohio State team that maybe takes its time to get into the game. C-Mac, what do you think?
Oh, man. I don't fucking know. I don't know with Purdue here. I don't know what we get. Like, seeing some of those games, like, just horrible against Northwestern.
Yeah.
And I think this is the best defense, at least right now in the country, Ohio State. And I love taking any team total under. There's just no value here now, really. Like, Penn State got over it last week. I wasn't on it. It's 13.5. They got the second touchdown in that game. So this Purdue team turns the ball over too much. Last week we were pretty good. Did they have a fumble real quick? because Brown didn't throw a pick, did he? Yeah, they lost a fumble. That just won. Yeah, he didn't throw a pick though. And their defense is not good. Like it's looked good in certain situations. But I still don't think they're very good. It seems like Ohio State, but it's just a huge number. So I'll be off.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a lot of points to be laying on the road. I will say this though about what's the spread in that first quarter? What's that first quarter Purdue plus 7.5 actually in some spots. It was only 7-0 Ohio State last year.
Get the hook
after the first quarter. Like even last year, it took them. And that was a game where Ohio State beat them. What was the score in that? 45-0. But it was only 7-0 after the first quarter.
Yeah.
Tell you what, first quarter. Don't be shocked if they're a little bit sleepy in the first quarter. Ohio State. That's all I'm saying. Just a little bit.
Hey, I've seen him do it a ton.
Yeah.
Not as much this year, but the last couple of years.
Yeah. That's not a bad situational look. Like I said, I wouldn't want to trust Purdue for 4 quarters because they're just going to get worn down and their offense isn't going to do enough against that defense for the course of the game. But early on, plus 7.5 just to be within a touchdown after the first quarter. I think Purdue can be at home. Can do enough to maybe make that happen. All right, next up, we've got, as we continue along here, Maryland and Rutgers. We've got pretty much even money here, 58.5, 59 the total in this game. I actually might back Maryland here, and I have not taken Maryland very much, but the more I watch Rutgers, it's pretty rough what I'm seeing out of Greg Schiano's team right now. The offense has kind of started to take a step back a bit. Defense still isn't very good. But it's the offense that's not playing like it did early in the season. You know, the Greek Stallion is not one of my favorites, and he's not nearly been as effective in recent weeks. When you look at this Maryland Terrapins team, obviously this is a team that's just coming off an absolute beatdown, but against the hands of Indiana. Let's not forget before that, there's a Maryland team that, you know, they beat up Wisconsin, but they were right there with Washington, right there with Nebraska, right there with UCLA. Right before that. And Rutgers' only victory in their last 5 games is a 3-point win on the road at Purdue, 27-24. And by the way, that was a game where Purdue, you know, had one of their better offensive outputs in that game of their season against Rutgers. So I just think Maryland might be a little bit better personnel-wise. I know you got to trust them to win on the road in Piscataway, but and I think I like Malik Washington and at least the potential of him at the quarterback spot for Maryland more than I like Kaliakmanis as well going into this game. Not to mention, I think they're the healthier team. Rutgers, again, the injuries have mounted for them at a pretty alarming and disappointing clip. And the Rutgers secondary has struggled, make no mistake about it. And Maryland's defense last week, I know, was rough for them, and that's still been, you know, a big problem for them as far as the defense is concerned. But Rutgers is more of a pass-heavy offense this year, and you know, Maryland's been slightly better defensively against the pass. So I'm kind of thinking Maryland's got their best opportunity to finally win a game because they faced some, certainly recently they faced some, you know, decent Big Ten opponents. I wouldn't say great Big Ten opponents like UCLA and Nebraska and some of these others they faced, but I think there's a winnable game for Maryland, and I just don't have any confidence right now in Rutgers finding ways to win. They found ways to lose plenty. C-Mac, what do you think?
I'm glad you talked about this game because I want nothing to do with it. I Maryland, I just can't take on the road, and they're just, you know, they're not catching like 3.5 here where I'd like it. I mean, they basically have to win the game. And Rutgers probably plays better. The offense was awful. The defense was lost pretty early.
Yep.
Yeah, defense still staying. And like they moved the ball, but just like a sack, just horrible. Bunch of field goals early. They did move it there in that first quarter twice. And they just had to settle for these chip shot field goals and then kind of lingered there. You know, like the second quarter and then the third quarter. And by that time, they were just getting drilled. So team that doesn't run the ball too much, of course, too. So Maryland doesn't win football games either. Like they're a team that just slips it away. Now you even want them to go on the road and win it. I just can't. So yeah, pass.
All right, Wake Forest and Virginia. We've got Virginia 6.5-point home favorites, 48 the total here in this game. Wake Forest was really bad last week. I'm not sure I'm thrilled about wanting to take a shot with them again. That being said, this was a team that beat SMU at home, went on the road, thumped Oregon State, went on the road and beat Virginia Tech. We know they can be capable. How will they fare here against Virginia, who have now won 7 straight games since that loss to NC State on the road back in early September? Beating Louisville, a very impressive win. Beat Florida State outright as a dog, thumped Stanford. Not as impressive against Washington State and North Carolina. Had to hang around for victory in that game. Cal, they ended up, getting a point spread cover thanks to a pick six late, but that was a competitive game, not easy. So Virginia's not the easiest team to lay points with when it's all said and done. This is a team that obviously can throw the football pretty well, but they can run it. They're balanced. They have Taylor and they have Chandler Morris in the passing game. They can do both pretty well. The Wake Forest offense still remains a bit of an issue, bit of a concern going into this game. I think Virginia can win this and possibly cover. I'm interested a little bit in Virginia here, 6.5. Got to look into it a little bit more, but I guarantee I can tell you this right now. If Wake Forest is going to struggle offensively, as they did against Florida State last week, Virginia will win this game by at least a touchdown. Their defense will not hang in there for a full 4 quarters against a team like this offensively at home. So I'm kind of thinking UVA gets it done here. Lean to them laying the points. C-Mac, what do you think?
I don't know if I take the total here. Because the last few weeks, maybe this offense is better and this kind of goes over and it's just low enough. Because I was really looking at this under. Wake, obviously, just low the last few games have gone under. I think their defense is pretty good. This Wake defense is pretty good against the pass. And they're not great, but they make some plays. I didn't want them last week. They had them first half. This team's been very good. I stayed off. I think that's that again. I like them here against Virginia. All Virginia love. They're at home, 8-1. I think this is a slip-up spot in a tight football game. These games are always tight, too, between Wake and Virginia. So, give me Wake.
All right.
I got to look if I might take them first half or not. But, yeah, I like it.
Well, that's what it boils down to. Can the offense be any better than it was against Florida? If it is, they can be in this. It's
got to be. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, they're not great. And, man, to watch those quarterbacks can,
Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Not fun.
Yeah, indeed, to see that, no doubt. All right, next up, we've got Georgia and Mississippi State. Georgia 7.5-point road favorites, 57 the total. I mean, I'm just gonna keep betting it now. Even now, look, Mississippi State is probably a little bit of a step down in class for Georgia, considering some of the teams they faced recently: Ole Miss, Florida, Alabama. Some of the teams they've played recently where they've gotten off to just one slow, sluggish. Auburn, there's another game where they got off to a really slow start in that game. Only Kentucky, that's the only game recently Georgia's gotten off to a pretty fast start, quick start, a good first.
That wasn't crazy, though. Yeah. What was it, 17-7?
14-0 Kentucky.
14-0, okay. 14.
You look at every other game recently. Tennessee, slow start. Down after the first quarter. Alabama, slow start, down after the first quarter. Auburn, terrible start, down after the first quarter and the first half. In fact, that's a different game if they rule that a touchdown, probably for Auburn late in that first half. Ole Miss, slow start, down after the first quarter. Florida, slow start again. I mean, I'm taking Mississippi State here, first quarter, first half. I don't even hate them full game either, plus 7.5, but I like the early looks better because I think Georgia's just been, at some point, you just have to say, you know what? This team is totally comfortable just taking the temperature of the game, seeing what the opponent's given them, even if it's a slow start, even if they give up the lead early and they fall behind, they're totally comfortable playing that way, Georgia, because they have found ways to win games after sluggish first quarters, after sluggish first half performances all season long. And for Mississippi State, you look at their recent games where they faced some good competition. I'm talking about the games, especially at home. Against Tennessee, they had a good start. They were tied at 7 with Texas at home after the first quarter of that game. On the road at Florida, they were up 7-3 after the first quarter. So we've not only had Georgia slow starts, we've had Mississippi State playing pretty well out of the gate in the first quarter in a lot of their games. So that's what I like most of all here. I lean full game with them too. I think they can be competitive, especially in Starkville with the cowbells rattling. But I like them even more first quarter, first half looks for Mississippi State here. Lean over as well. I think we could see some points scored. I still don't fully trust that Mississippi State defense. And I think Gunnar Stockton and them can move the football. But again, the Georgia defense last week, they made stops when they had to. But it's Georgia defense when they take on an offense with a pulse. And I consider Blake Shapen and Mississippi State having an offense with a pulse. Georgia's not shown they can completely shut those kind of offenses down this year. So I do lean over this total as well. C-Mac, what do you think? Georgia, Mississippi State.
I know. It's just like you want to keep going back to the well. I think so. The best thing about doing it is just then taking Georgia live. So you cash the bet early, then you just bet Georgia, because then they've so you're just doubling up. Like, that's what I've been doing. So I still don't love Mississippi State's defense, but yeah, it's like I like that. They were what you said there, Babano. They were what would you say? Taking the temperature, just kind of feeling the game out.
All right. We'll see what you're doing. Even if you have success against us, okay, and you take the lead, okay, we'll adjust. Yeah. We'll get better. We'll get stronger as the game goes on, and we'll still beat you. That's been their
our defense will make stops late in the game, and we'll get the run game going. So yeah, it's tough for me to and I like this when the team makes you money. And then I guess Georgia too, fading them, and then it's like, how do you want to jump off the pool here, off the diving in? But here, since this game was short, let me hit the chat. Dram Yankee, my guy, appreciate you. NHL, what up? All-Star Bets, I love it. Markel, what up, my man? Great to see you in here. It's been a minute. FB Gotti, everyone in here, appreciate you. Kongs, everyone in here. Old E, I saw him. Tommy Robinson, everyone in here. Shout out to you. Let's roll.
All right, Iowa State, TCU. TCU 6.5-point home favorites, 57.5 being the total here in this game. Big 12 action here. We'll see how this one plays out. Iowa State's been a very, very weird team to follow and watch how things have transpired with them. I want to point out they're 1-2 straight up, 0-3 against the spread on the road. We obviously saw them lose to BYU, where they were in it early, and then the roof caved in the second half. But they lose at Cincinnati. They've also lost their two best corners in the secondary, and teams are starting to throw the ball with success against that Cyclones defense. They lose outright as favorites to Colorado, to BYU, and then last week, 8-point favorites against an Arizona State team with Jeff Sims at quarterback, with Sam Leavitt sidelined for the rest of the season, and Iowa State loses outright to Arizona State, and Jeff Sims played actually pretty solid. And more importantly, I guess quarterback run was not part of the game plan defensively for Iowa State. 228 rushing yards given up to Jeff Sims in that game. I could only back TCU here. I think it's kind of fallen apart for Iowa State. Now they got to go on the road. They haven't covered a point spread yet this year on the road. It's a bye week, off a bye week for TCU, back home for this game. At home this year, we saw them beat SMU by double digits. North Carolina, well, that was on the road, but SMU by double digits. Colorado by double digits. They beat Baylor by 6. And Iowa State doesn't have the offensive weaponry right now, quite like Baylor. This is TCU laying the points, maybe TCU team total over as well, because that Iowa State defense, not only has it been struggling, but it's been banged up, especially in the secondary. And I'll tell you what, Josh Hoover can throw the football. That banged-up secondary might be in for a long day here for Iowa State. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think you just stick it. If you like it, stick to the team total.
Just in case of backdoor shenanigans, I get it.
Yeah, and I think it's like that BYU game. It's just awful. Rocco Beck. He hasn't been great either. As bad as the defense was, like you've been talking about. But I still don't love this TCU defense. Better against the run, but they can get shredded in the secondary, so that could maybe linger around with them. Iowa State seems to always kind of play them tough too. I think TCU gets their team total. I don't trust the defense, so I would just look team total here.
All right, we go to the SEC, Texas A&M and Missouri. Texas A&M 7-point road favorites. The total here at 49.5, pretty much across the board here in this one. Great matchup, though. Obviously, these are two teams that have had pretty good starts to their season overall. Pretty good seasons, I should say, to this point. A&M 3-0 straight up, 2-1 against the spread on the road. So it's been a road team that's been able to get the job done as well. The win at Notre Dame, the win at LSU. Now, they had to survive Arkansas 45-42, but they've won every road game. Both teams off the bye. So there's no situational advantage here either way. I'll say this. Missouri's the team that really needed the bye. Because with A&M, they had at least a couple of games that, Florida was a blowout win. Arkansas that was a closer game than they wanted, but it didn't push them physically as much. And LSU, they won that game. It turned into a blowout. They could pace themselves late in that game. You look at Missouri before their bye week, physical, down-to-the-wire game at home against Alabama where they lost 27-24. Physical, down-to-the-wire game where they won in overtime on the road at Auburn. Another physical, down-to-the-wire game at Vanderbilt before the bye week, which they lost 17-10. It's just Missouri really needed the bye. You could tell. 3 grueling, tough games in a row, and it came at a really good time for them. No question about it. Matt Zollers, we're going to find out, obviously, how good he is because Bo Pribula out with that ankle injury, as for Missouri. You don't expect him to play here. Zollers should be getting the start here for them. Again, in minimal action this year. 20 of 29, 69% completions, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 213. Pretty solid numbers, actually, for Zollers, if you look at it, believe it or not, albeit in limited action. This is a beauty of a spot for Missouri. And they're getting 7 because of the quarterback injury to Pribula. You're getting a bigger number with them. Do you trust their offense to work here against A&M's defense? And A&M's defense there's been times it's been dominant, like against Auburn, like against Florida, like against Mississippi State. Then they've had games early in the year where they were getting gutted a little bit, and other teams were moving the football. Arkansas had that game where they scored 42 points on A&M just a few weeks ago. So their defense has looked magnificent at times, and it's looked very, very average and vulnerable at other times. So which A&M defenses are we going to get here? That's going to be the big question. But from a spot perspective, I got to admit it, 7 or better, I'm interested here in Missouri. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yep, I am. I had this circled even. I wonder if the quarterback is going to be that big a difference.
You wonder I don't know. Bye week, which Missouri needed because of all the physical, tough, wire games. Whereas A&M has the bye week rolling going into the bye week. And does the bye week stunt their momentum a little bit?
Rolling, offense rolling.
Yep.
Rolling. You know why I have to take it here, too? Missouri has a better defense, flat out. And I think they're going to have to make plays in this game. I don't know if they want to get up and down. If it gets up and down, Texas A&M could go there in there and win. They're going to have to keep this.
13th in yards per play allowed on defense, and A&M's only 39th. So there is a difference. Yep.
Yeah. So when I was going through the games last night, I was just circle this big time. I think a lot of people, Texas A&M playing a lot of good football. We see this all the time, and head on the road here. I just think this game's tight. So give me the touchdown. I'm gonna wait on. This total. I wanted to just let it sit with it for a while. The total, but yeah, I'll take it here. I'll take the touchdown at home.
All right. Next up, we've got BYU and Texas Tech. BYU. This is a good one in the Big 12, and they moved this to an ABC game. ABC on Saturday to get the day started at noon Eastern. The ABC because it's a big one. These are 2 teams that could win the Big 12 championship this year. We've got Texas Tech 10.5-point home favorites, 52.5 the total in this game. And yeah, the ABC's got this to start their schedule on Saturday now because this is 5-0 versus 5-1 in conference play. These are 2 best teams in the Big 12 right now going head to head in this game. I think Texas Tech could blow the doors off them, quite honestly. I think that's possible here, especially at home. I still don't know how great BYU is. Now, they did beat Utah, pretty impressive win. Iowa State on the road, pretty impressive win, and they're obviously 8-0 straight up, and they've had a good point spread record here as well. But now that Texas Tech rolls into this game with a healthy offense, a healthy Baron Morton at quarterback, and keep in mind they got a couple of guys banged up at running back, BYU, LJ Martin, Sione Moa, both of them a little bit banged up. So how does that impact them going into this game? This is definitely a fun game. One of the games I'm most excited to watch here on Saturday in this battle for first in the Big 12. Both teams, too, BYU, let's give their offense credit. The more I watch Bear Bachmeier, I know he's got a couple injuries to worry about at running back, but he can run it. He can throw it. He's a dual threat. He's got two, not just good, great receivers in the veteran Chase Roberts and Parker Kingston. These two guys are great receivers this year for BYU. Texas Tech's defense, now remember, they blew us all away early in the year, what they did at Utah. I don't know. The more I watch them, though, Arizona State and Leavitt had some success moving the ball against them. Kansas State last week, was able to move it for a bit, 20 points. They ended up having, still Kansas State over 300 yards. BYU's offense is humming. And as much as I respect Texas Tech's defense, I think BYU can have some success moving the football here against Texas Tech. But I don't know if BYU's defense is going to be able to slow down Tech. Tech has a really good offense with a healthy Morton. We have seen that. Each time they've had a healthy Baron Morton at quarterback, they've been just moving the ball willingly and putting up points. Early in the year, the Utah game where they scored 34, obviously the 35 against Houston, the game last week against Kansas State where they put a 43 spot on the board. I think the over's the bet here, quite honestly. That's what I'm kind of eyeing in this game, more than either side. I wouldn't be shocked if Texas Tech wins by double digits. I'm pumping the brakes, though, on fading BYU. It seems like my narrative that they're a little bit overrated, a little bit lucky. You got to be good to be lucky, and this team's been good as well. But the over, to me, is what I like the most in this game. I'd be scared to bet against Texas Tech at home in a game like this with that offense. I can tell you that. So I lean Red Raiders, but I think the over is what I'm going to end up on here for this Big 12 showdown on Saturday. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, huge game. I think this is a game I'm not going to bet either at this price. 10.5. I think this is pretty telling with Texas Tech. By the way, that K-State game last week, back to their normal things. Couple picks from Johnson, 3 lost fumbles. It was.
Yep. Now, that game was closer than the final score would indicate if Kansas State could hang on to the football, but that was obviously a big problem.
Yeah, that can't happen. I mean, this Bachmeier kid is tough.
He is.
It's just not an easy place to get to.
Yep.
I don't know how for real Texas Tech is. I like them a lot. I mean, we talked about we liked them last week. Man. And I think as much as I like BYU, I'm going to wait on this. This is a flat wait. I got to just call it like I see it on a Monday morning. Finito. Let's get to the next game.
Let me just make sure the weather's going to be okay on Saturday.
I think it's all right.
I think it's
a little wind.
Okay. Let me just see here. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, wind 10, 12.
No, nothing at all. No rain and just, very light. Wind. So I think we're going to be fine. Yeah, the over is what I'm most interested in there when it comes to that game. All right, Auburn and Vanderbilt. We've got Vandy, 7.5 point home favorites, 46 the total. This is lay it or don't play it. I think this could be one of those blowout spots for Vanderbilt coming off the disappointing loss against Texas. And you know what I appreciate about Vanderbilt? Diego Pavia, quarterback, and Clark Lee with the culture he's instilling here at Vanderbilt as head coach. They didn't quit on that game. They knew they were going to lose probably, midway through the third quarter, and they just kept playing, competing.
Yeah.
Didn't fold the tent. They didn't go home. And for some backers that were fortunate to get 3.5 with Vanderbilt, they rewarded you with what they were able to do late. And then they almost recovered the onside kick. They were so close to recovering that onside kick right at the end of that game against Texas. And then it really would have gotten interesting for the Longhorns. But Auburn fires Hugh Freeze. I know at times it can lead to a bit of a coaching bump when there's a coaching change for that first game. I just think I didn't see a lot of fight. I didn't see a lot of anything for Auburn last week against Kentucky, certainly not offensively. And Vanderbilt off a tough loss. They got to get back on the saddle. There's no woe is me. You've still got every opportunity to still be in the mix potentially for the conference, if not, still at the very least, one a playoff spot. If things go your way the rest of the way, you got to get back in the saddle. It's still a I'm not saying for sure it will happen, but it's still a possibility. You're not completely out of the mix yet. So I think it's a lay it or don't play it spot. It's Vandy or pass for me. C-Mac, what do you think?
I think it's Vandy here. I don't want to lay the points, though. I think it's just under. Dead under or an Auburn team total under. I don't know how this team scores.
The Auburn team total under is probably even better. I like that. Yep.
They got the 33 in that basically kind of wild second half against Arkansas a few weeks ago. 17 in the fourth. Yeah, 23 in the second half. That was like the spurt of all they've had in like 6 weeks, this Auburn offense. I mean, I just saw them. There was 3 points. They had 10 versus Georgia, 10 versus A&M.
And a reminder, too, against Kentucky, Auburn benched prior to the Kentucky game, they benched Jackson Arnold. They went with Ashton Daniels, the Stanford transfer. And now you know why he wasn't that great at Stanford. He was not good at all against Kentucky last week.
I mean, that was like, holy shit. So, this is simple to me. I still think Vandy's got a pretty good defense. Yeah. They got blitzed there early. I mean, Texas came to play. I mean, they got knocked out quick. But you're right, they came fighting back. Pavia, he's got guts. We know we love him here. Shout out to our guy, Diego Pavia, on hitting the books.
All right, next up, we've got LSU and Alabama down in Tuscaloosa. Alabama, 11-point home favorites, 50 the total in this game. This is really all about LSU's, obviously. This will be their first game post Brian Kelly firing. So, again, coaching bump potential, I guess, maybe. Here's the thing. From everything I've seen from the outside, and I'm not in the locker room with this LSU team, something tells me it was not always easy for the players to like and get warm to Brian Kelly, when he coached there.
No shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
You can see them now with him gone, relaxed, having more fun, coming to the football, coming to the practice facility, the training facility. I wouldn't be totally shocked if LSU gives Alabama a game here. I wouldn't, just based on cleansing of the air with Brian Kelly gone and maybe a more harmonious working environment, if you know what I mean, for LSU without him in the fold anymore. Doesn't mean I'm going to bet LSU, though, because I will say Alabama's playing some really good football right now. And while both teams are off a bye, so there's no advantage there. But Alabama's played really well. We saw them beat Tennessee by 17 at home, beat Vanderbilt by 16. They've especially played awesome football here in Tuscaloosa. 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the spread this season here in Alabama for this team. Ty Simpson's playing better with each game. He's had a really good season at quarterback. Defense has gotten better. What the defense did in their last home game against Tennessee, Tennessee's got a good offense and shut them down, for a good chunk of that game. So, I because of the fact that it's Kelly that's out and it could lead to the players being a little bit more excited now, and they give it a great effort here. Initially, I was going to lay it with Alabama, but I could see LSU treating this kind of like, even though, they're out of the SEC, they're out of the playoff picture now, treat this like their national championship game, if you will, taking on Alabama. Maybe you get a great effort. They cover this number. But I'm a little reluctant to step in front of Bama, especially at home, and especially that offense against a defense that, as we know, when they face better offenses, they continue to struggle to get stops. And do we trust Nussmeier to trade points if they can't stop Alabama? I'm not sure that he can do that for this LSU team. What do you think here, C-Mac, LSU, Alabama?
That's how I feel in this game. Like, I just think it's a little too high here with Bama. Like, do they win here by 17 or by 7? Just feels like that here. It just was too high. This was under 10. I'd maybe look at Alabama here at home. And I don't know what to make of LSU. I mean, obviously we thought This defense was a little bit better. The offense sucks. That's why, now Kelly's out finally. I don't know if that gives them a bump. Maybe it does here. So nothing to bet here. So pass.
All right, nothing wrong with that. All right, next up as we continue along, Oregon, Iowa in Big Ten action. Oregon 5.5-point road favorites, 43.5 the total in this game. This is a be careful spot here for Oregon. I definitely think they're better than Iowa. That's for sure. But this is not always an easy place to play. This is an Iowa team that I guess in their toughest home game this year, which was against Indiana, they covered as 9-point home dogs and only lost by 5 against the Hoosiers. And right now we kind of think the Hoosiers are pretty close to where Oregon is right now. So this could be a tough game for Oregon. It may not be a walk on the park for them. They're coming off a 21-7 win against Wisconsin before their bye week. Although I must admit, the offense was very lackluster in that game against the Wisconsin Badgers, especially Dante Moore. He hasn't had many mediocre games, but that was definitely one of them. You've got both teams off the bye, so there's no real advantage there. But one thing I will say about Iowa, and the last time we saw them, they pounded Minnesota 41-3. Mark Gronowski is starting to play like I kind of thought he would. He would be one of the better quarterbacks we've seen at Iowa in recent years. And I think right now, his play's been good. Can they have success against an Oregon defense in this spot that has been one of the surprises of the year? They've played well, other than a fourth quarter rally for Penn State and getting bludgeoned a little bit by Indiana, who's not getting bludgeoned by Indiana's offense. Other than that, Oregon's defense has played pretty well this year in most games. They do have the time off. This is a 3:30 p.m. Eastern game in Iowa City. But I'm telling you what, Iowa is going to be a pain in the neck in this game. I just have that feeling. Let's not forget, they lost to Indiana, the Penn State game where Oregon had to travel all the way. They needed overtime to survive that game. I don't know if I'll be on Iowa, but I wouldn't personally feel totally comfortable laying 5.5 here in this game with Oregon. So that's where I lean slightly over in this game. Iowa's offense is picking up the last few weeks. I don't know if Oregon
what works out here, the defense or the offense, kind of. I mean, I can see a little bit of both. I mean,
and the one thing that concerns me is Iowa's defense against the speed of Oregon. That could be something like they can be a bit plodding sideline to sideline, and that's where Oregon could gash them for big plays. So, and I like the way Iowa's offense has incrementally improved this year. So I'm kind of leaning to this over, and it's only 43.5. I think it could get over a number like that. CMAC, what do you think?
Well, I'll be on Iowa here. I'll take these points at the house. I don't know how Oregon's good, but I don't know if they're that good. You know what I mean?
No.
Top here. And you talk about like a lot of the numbers look good. I was praised them last year, until I think they play the best teams, a couple teams. We'll really see. Like them against the pass is, they're tops here. And I think Iowa's defense, after the craziest thing was just that Rutgers game. First, I'm like, that was just the wildest thing I had seen. I was just like, damn, that's just the quickest L I've ever had. But here at home, middle of the day type game like you're talking about, I think this is just kind of a dogfight type game, 3-point, field goal type game. So I'll take the points here with Iowa, no doubt.
All right,
I do not want Oregon laying points on the road.
Yeah, I like it. No doubt. So there we go. Good stuff indeed there with that. All right, next no lack of confidence. Love hearing it. All right, next up we've got Washington and Wisconsin. Washington 11.5-point road favorites total in this game, 45.5. Last time we saw Wisconsin, for as terrible as their offense is, it's horrible. Their defense hung in there against Oregon, like we just talked about. I mean, they made life difficult on Whittington, the running back. Dante Moore didn't have a great day against Wisconsin's defense. Can that defense hang in? Because if they're going to cover, it's going to be with their defense. It's not going to be with their offense, which has been absolutely dreadful. And Washington, and what time does this game start? 4:30 Eastern, 1:30 local time on the Pacific. Yeah, I don't feel comfortable laying this many on the road with Washington in a spot like this. This definitely.
No way.
I can tell you right now, this is going to be a pass. I'm not betting this game. I don't want to lay with Washington in this spot, and I don't quite trust Wisconsin enough. Anything here, C-Mac?
I don't know how Wisconsin scores. I truly don't.
Maybe Wisconsin team total under. It's already.
I don't know how they. I don't know. Like, are they going to score here? Can they score 17 points? This team. Here's what they've scored: 14, 10, 10, 0, 0, 7.
Yeah.
I mean, Washington. All right, defense. It's the travel. This seems just like, I don't know, 20-10 type game. I don't know. Like, we've seen that lately in these Wisconsin games. I know they lost 34-0. Ohio State, but I think it's just like similar where they played Michigan. It was 24-10.
Yeah,
this offense just can't get anything going. It's just like,
and it's another week of Will Billy Edwards return. I'm so sick of seeing him on the injury report and still same old.
I know,
yeah.
Same old shit.
Yeah.
But their defense is like trying to keep them in these games against these better teams. So yeah. I think you just look at their team total under until they start scoring points. I think that's the way to go.
All right. I don't argue with that. All right. Kansas and Arizona. We've got Arizona 4.5-point home favorites. Another Big 12 matchup here. The total sitting at, it looks like around, 56.5 here with the total in this game. Very impressive by Arizona last week, obviously, against Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. Just a dominant performance, blowout victory in that game. We'll see if they can maintain it. Kansas also had a blowout victory, but it was against an absolutely, dreadful, rebuilding Oklahoma State team, 38-20. I'll say this, though, they didn't cover. And, their defense gave up a late score to prevent them from covering that number. And they're now 0-3 against the spread their last 3 games, Kansas. But again, their offense has been pretty good. Their defense has been struggling, make no mistake about it. And here's Arizona, where suddenly their defense a few games there was getting ripped by BYU and Houston, but their offense now with Fifita leading it has certainly done its damage. Ishmael Mahdi running the football, Gio Richardson at the receiving spot doing some damage in the passing game. The over is what stands out to me. Rather than backing either side in this game, I'd just rather just bank on both teams being able to have success offensively. So over 56, I'm interested. And again, weather here for Tucson, no issues expected, obviously, in the desert. C-Mac, what do you think?
I kind of agree it could get over in this game. I really don't want both these. I don't want Arizona even at home laying this, and I've had just no trust here with Kansas. Like, they beat up on the shitty teams, of course. Any step up, I don't think they're very good. I mean, I'm trying to rag on Daniels. I mean, he's been there like 7 years. It's kind of the same old stuff with him. This team is just not the same on the road. Their defense is good. Arizona's got the better defense here. I just don't know, if I want to lay more than a field goal with them in tight games that they're playing. And you mentioned it, these games are like 33-27. So maybe it does get over. But I'm off.
All right, Nebraska, UCLA. We've got UCLA 2.5-point home favorites. The total here sitting at, it looks like 44, pretty much across the board here in this one. Of course, the injury to Dylan Raiola in the now they did hang on. They did lose that game, I should say, 21-17. USC came back and beat them. Still covered the number in spite of losing Dylan Raiola to injury in that game. So, again, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. TJ Lateef is the freshman who took over from California. Now, he is going back. He's from Compton, California, going back there to play in the Rose Bowl here against UCLA. Does that fire him up here for this game? Making this start for Nebraska?
Nah.
I'm not so sure. We'll have to wait and see on that. Now, I will say this. Last week against USC, 5 for 7, 71% completions, 7 passes. That's the bizarre stat. He completed 5 passes in 7 attempts against USC for 7 yards. So nothing was even intermediate to deep. Everything was like very short at the line of scrimmage with his passes pretty much in that. So how ready is he to make this start is going to be the big question. You could be going home all you want to Cali, but like I said, do we trust you to move the football? That's going to be the question. I think it does set up nicely here for the Bruins. We do know that there's been a little bit of a spark, a little bit of energy in this program again since the coaching change after Foster got out of there and Jerry Neuheisel, Rick's kid, started calling the plays. All of a sudden, this team started to show a little pizzazz, and Nico Iamaleava obviously started to get going and play a little bit better for them as well. So it definitely sets up nicely here for UCLA. They're laying less than a field goal at home. That was certainly my initial lean here in this game, that UCLA can probably get the job done. They're also off a bye week, and before the bye was that just obliteration they suffered at the hands of Indiana, 56-6. But a lot of teams are getting their asses handed to them by the Indiana Hoosiers. So, like I said, I think for UCLA, this could set up as a nice little bounce-back opportunity for them off the bye week. Yeah, at less than a field goal, I think I might end up having UCLA on my card. C-Mac, what do you think? Nebraska, UCLA.
And there's 2.5, and there's 3s out too right now.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah, get the 2.5. I kind of like UCLA. It seems like I don't think they'll be able to throw in Nebraska. So like that kind of leads me to an under. Like, what is Nebraska going to do? It seems like 2017 written all over it with UCLA in this game, because I just don't know how Nebraska is going to move the football. And then I don't know, but UCLA, Nebraska's run defense is great. I mean, I think they give it 158 on the year, kind of middle of the pack. But UCLA's been able to run it here of late. They average 165, so kind of just like a boring, slow, ugly game. Under the field goal, I wouldn't mind UCLA, but I'm under here.
All right, next up, we've got Duke and UConn. Next up here, we've got UConn. Let me just see here what the hold on, we lost our screen here for a sec. Give me 1 sec. Bear with me, everybody. Here we go. Duke and UConn for Saturday. We've got, there we go. Duke 8.5-point road favorites, 65.5. I mean, the over is the first thing that stands out. I mean, UConn's got a good offense. Their defense is a little sketchy. The more I watch UConn or Duke, the more I wonder what about their defense, because it did not play well against Clemson. They won, but in spite of the defense, it was the offense and Mensah, his great play, that kind of bailed them out in that game. Huge win against Clemson. Now you're laying 8.5 on the road. I mean, spot-wise, it screams UConn here, where they've been often pretty solid as a dog. And you have a leaky defense, at least what we've seen in recent weeks on the Duke side. So maybe UConn at plus 8.5. I could see that being worth a look. I think the over, though, is what I like even more in this matchup here. Both offenses, pretty good form. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, I think this game just goes back and forth. Yeah, I want UConn here. I was just on Duke. I want to fade them. I still think Duke is better, football team flat out. But yeah, the defense has, and obviously at times the offense has had turnover problems. This seems like a high scoring game back and forth. So yeah, give me the 8.5 here. I like UConn.
All right, there you go. Liking UConn here, 8.5, and I lean that way as well. I like the over probably a little bit more. All right, next up, we've got Navy and Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 25.5-point home favorites, 56.5 the total here in this game. I'll tell you what about Notre Dame. They've had not the easiest time of it here in a couple of their recent games. Boston College, it was a bit of a tougher game than I'm sure a lot of people anticipated. I know it was a tougher game than the people that laid 30.5 and were pushing that number up all week on Notre Dame against Boston College. It was a tighter game for all of them than they anticipated, only beating BC 25-10, failing to cover as 31-point favorites. We'll see how they fare here back home against Navy. Obviously, with Notre Dame, the run game is a big component of that offense. Navy's defensive numbers against the run haven't been necessarily all that bad. Here's the issue for Navy in this game. It's that Notre Dame's defense, which started out the year pretty bad, a lot of that was their numbers against the pass defense was bad. The secondary was bad. The overall run defense for Notre Dame still looks very, very good. They're only giving up 87.8 rushing yards per game, 2.8 yards per carry. And again, Navy's going to be exclusively in that triple option looking to run the football. This could be a matchup that doesn't bode well necessarily for Navy. Many years ago, Navy was covering some of these games against Notre Dame. That has not been the case lately. Notre Dame 7-0 straight up, 5-2 against the spread. And look at these margins, the last 6 of them, 22, 32, 28, 39. Last year, it was a 51-14 Notre Dame win against a Navy team that was, probably close to as good as they are now, if not, just maybe slightly worse, but comparable Navy team to the one we're seeing this year. Hard for me, even with this many points, to take Navy. They've been clobbered by Notre Dame repeatedly, and I am not sure they're going to have a boatload of success moving it on the ground against them. C-Mac, what do you think?
I know, just after the game where, I don't know if they're going through the motions, but, BC kept it close there. Like, this is just like they flat cover, and then it's like Notre Dame wins by 10 or 14, or they're just going to blow them out again. Like, Navy can't stop to pass. Like, Notre Dame should just be able to throw it all over them. And I don't know how good this run defense is for Notre Dame. It's gotten better. Because Navy, of course, with Horvath, they're just going to run it. So I'm off of that. Like, when I see these points, I want Navy. But, over the years, you learn. And I might have to just stay off here, Yeah,
this has definitely been a problematic matchup the last 6 or 7 years for Navy.
It seems like Notre Dame at least gets theirs. Like, if you don't want to lay their points, like, it seems like they get to 40 easily in these games.
Yeah.
Versus Navy.
All right, next up, we've got Sam Houston State and Oregon State, 19.5-point home favorites, 53 the total in this game. They are so freaking bad, Sam Houston State. And I'll say this, Oregon State at the very least, how about that? A little pulse, sign of life. Washington State have been playing better football. Oregon State shuts them down completely and beats them 10-7 last week in a very low-scoring game there against the Cougars. Sam Houston, I did not like the Phil Longo fit there from the beginning, and this team is a brutal 0-8 straight up, 1-7 against the spread. They come out. Think about the fact that they've had 2 bye weeks already this season, and in those 2 games off after the bye week, they lost 37-10 at New Mexico State after their first bye, and then after their second bye week, they lost last week 55-14 to Louisiana Tech. I'm laying it in Corvallis. This team's going to get destroyed. And Oregon State showed me some life. They got a little energy back in the season again. It's been a dismal season, too, for Oregon State, but I was impressed with how they were able to win the line of scrimmage against Washington State last week. I think they roll Sam Houston. Sam Houston is a corpse on the football field, dead corpse on the football field right now. C-Mac, what do you think?
Yeah, this team's bad. This is crazy, 20 points. But I think it's legit. Like this is the line. Like they just got killed by Louisiana Tech in that game. They ran the ball decent, but they just got they just get down. The offense, there's just no consistency with Watson. So struggle with turnovers. I can't do it. I can't lay 19.5 for Oregon State. I just can't do it. I'll win it. Cash that with flying colors, bro. Please.
All right, last game, C-Mac. Here it is. This is your late night, 11 p.m. Eastern, late game in the on the island here. San Diego State and Hawaii. San Diego State 7-point road favorites, 50.5 the total here in this game. Hawaii had been playing some pretty good football, but they ran into San Jose State and an offense that they just could not stop. I mean, it was basically Walker Eget the whole game just chewing up that Hawaii defense, which had been playing a little bit better. Alejado and the offense did their job. They still had a pretty good game against San Jose State last week, but they could not get stops on the defensive side of the football. How will they fare here? How about San Diego State? Sean Lewis, the resurgent season for his Aztecs. 7-1 straight up, 7-1 against the spread this season for the Aztecs.
Crazy.
They just keep on rolling. 6 straight covers. Other than a 6-3 win at Northern Illinois, they shut out Fresno 23-0, pound Nevada 44-10, crush Colorado State 45-24, destroy Wyoming 24-7. Like, they're winning comfortably. They're winning by margin. Denegal, the quarterback, has gotten better. The offense has gotten better. And more importantly, this is a defense that's just absolutely stifling other teams right now. Only once have they given up more than 10 points in a game in their last 6. 5 of the last 6, they've given up 10 points or less. So this Aztec defense is humming, and they've taken all the early money, 4.5, all the way up to laying a full 7 now on the road in this game on the island. I don't know if I want to step in front of the Aztecs. That being said, this number is getting awfully rich if you like San Diego State here in this game. And let's not disrespect Hawaii at home, where they have a 4-1 record this year. A Hawaii team that crushed Utah State at home, beat Portland State at home, beat Sam Houston State at home, beat Stanford at home in their first game. Their only home loss was to Fresno, 23-21, and they lost by 2 points. So they've either won or they've lost by 2, essentially, in every home game. This feels like a premium you're starting to pay one with San Diego State right now, in my opinion. There could be some wind, too, 16 miles per hour as of right now for this game on Saturday. So check that wind forecast closer to kickoff. C-Mac, what do you think here? San Diego State, Hawaii.
I thought under in this game. One thing with San Diego State, I'm sure people are loving it because they're laying small numbers and they're covering. What is it, 7 in a row? 2.5, 5.5, 6.5. So that just runs up. I just don't think they keep going on the road. And one thing about San Diego State, the defense has been that good because this team does not have a good offense. That's what scares when you start laying more than a touchdown here, at Hawaii, which isn't the easiest place to play, too. They've just been that dominant defensively. The numbers are crazy. Can Hawaii, who, could throw the ball, but this team's giving up 157 yards. That's it, through the air. But I think if I lean the under in Hawaii over a touchdown, which is going against everything that's going 7 straight weeks of San Diego State. But yeah, this was a way for me. But I definitely, with the weather, everything, look at the under.
Yeah, usually that's the first thing you notice is that when you're starting to get these kind of weather forecasts for early in the week at Hawaii, hold off. If you like the over, at least hold off until later when it gets a little bit closer to kickoff, because things could always change. It always is possible when you get these kind of weather forecasts. But again, you really want to wait for that to happen before getting involved. All right, great stuff. Great show once again. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Too many to name. And I got to get going because I got to do the Ice Guys show and then the NBA show. So it's a hectic afternoon of content for me. So we got to get rolling. But we thank all of you for joining us here in the chat. Hit the like button. C-Mac, any last words?
Yes, check us out tomorrow, college basketball.
Yep. We
will rip through the card and then our Wednesday, Friday shows. Become a member if you're not a member in the green. I love doing it. And you know what we're doing because you got to go, Bavana? We will do UNLV Colorado State on Friday since we missed that one today. But that's one we do anyways.
No, that's a mistake in the games list, C-Mac. That shouldn't have been in there. That shouldn't have been.
Oh, okay. Well, that's perfect.
Friday. Yeah.
That's Friday. I love it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you wonder where I like it, but we'll do that on Friday. But that's it, man. Let's get out of here for you.
Yeah, great stuff. Great show. Thanks to everyone for tuning in. Again, we're back. Here's the schedule this week. Tomorrow for everybody, free for everybody tomorrow. College basketball hitting the book show premiere edition, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday. And then we got our members only hitting the book shows for our subscribers and members of the channel on Wednesday and Friday, both days at 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. So that's our schedule for the rest of the week. Good stuff. Hit the like button on the way out. For Connor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. This has been another edition of the College Football Hitting the Book Show. Enjoy the week in college football. Good luck with all of your wagers, and we'll see you again next Monday at this time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, for another edition of the College Football Hitting the Book Show. Until then, class dismissed.